guest that is the only person below White Holiday in the ComicsGate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sameti. The YouTube WyzGyz. How you doing, Conrad? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host, Wyman. We are joined today by our special guest, Jim. Jim, a.k.a. LovePigeon.
Caca. How we doing?
I wasn't sure if I was going to have to do that or you.
No, it's my icebreaker. Although it makes some other people more on edge. The most famous of people that have done it live in a stream whenever I've entered the chat is Fragaboom. And he always does like a proper call when he sees my message. So everyone else is too scared to do it.
That's funny. Yeah, I've done it on and off. Welcome.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying I need to clip everybody doing it, so I've got a compilation at the end of the year.
That would be nice. Welcome, Alejandro VS. Hey, WyzGyz. Good to have you. Thanks for coming. Besides LovePigeon, you were the first one here. Right on.
First.
Welcome, Madanui. Hello. All right. My goodness. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm all right. I'm kind of stressed from trying to buy a van that's suitable to convert, and it's taken a lot of time from drawing this week. So I'm hoping on Saturday there's one final van, and it's actually already converted properly into like a camper van. So I'm going to test that on Saturday. So if that works, then I'm all good. So other than that, just getting by doing the next Doomsday Kingdom pages.
So what is it you're trying to convert on this van? What is your goal?
I'm transitioning into actually living full time in a van.
Really? You mean
you
get more flexibility to, travel? You can,
especially Scotland.
Oh wow!
So I've been thinking about this for like a whole year, so I'm not like rushing into it. And the work I do with my previous company before I quit to focus on comics full time, still give me a lot of remote work to do, so I don't need to be tied down to any one place. And so I've always wanted to travel, and obviously with the pandemic, it's made it a bit harder. But we have less stringent rules because there's nowhere for people to go who are in vans. It's like they can't say, "Oh, go home." It's like, well, I'll live in a van.
That's a good way around it.
So I'm planning on moving to Scotland by the second half of the year. So
now, why Scotland?
Because it's the closest we've got to New Zealand in the UK. So I'll find a little bit of wood and I'll make a hole and just live there.
Oh, all right.
Well, I'll be in a van.
Well,
it's a big van. It's a big van.
You're presently in the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Last I heard, the pandemic rules are, they went to another level of lockdown, or has that since cleared?
Yeah, we're almost at 9,000.
Jeez,
there's so many. It's literally, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't feel any different to lockdown level 3 to 4 to 5 that we're in now, because everyone's still allowed to go outside. You're allowed to go to the shops, which is the most where you're at risk anyway. But people have like stocked their hypothetical storm cells in the terms of a full-scale lockdown and riots, but it hasn't come to that yet.
Oh.
But no, if there is riots, I'll be in my toilet roll fort, so I'll be good.
Most of the space in your new van will be filled with toilet paper.
Yeah, everything under the bed.
Yeah.
For no innuendo purposes, just for precautions.
Welcome, Yotam Darkstar. Hello, Kakol. Welcome, Brazilian Dave. All right, me babbers. And Michael McCartney. Oh no, close the border.
They'll keep it open just for me.
Just for you.
Yeah. I'll say, look, I've been planning this for years. Don't stop me now. And I'll play Queen if I have to and sing to
him. Take out the tires. All right. Thanks for coming on the show. This is your very first time here.
Long time listener, first time appearance.
Welcome, John from America. Greetings, all. How's it going? Would you take a moment and share with us, your origin story? How were you raised? What were you into as a kid? Were you into? Did you collect toys or comics or watch cartoons? And what were the key stages in your life that led to you becoming a crowdfunded comics publisher, creator?
It all started when Mama Bird dropped me from her egg and was like, "Get the fuck out! You need to start working." So it's weird. It's one of these things where, like, I tell this story. Well, in the first year of what is it? The first year? Yeah, this is basically the first year of crowdfunding, including like 6 months from last year. So I've whittled down this story to not take like 10 hours. But essentially, I was always the odd one out in school because I suffered heavily with alopecia, so I lost all of my hair. And then when it grew back, it ended up looking like crop circles. So I always stood out, so I always had to wear a hat. Until one day, my hair actually grew back properly. So the only things I've got is like less eyebrows. I've got like the John Malin eyebrows. So we've got something in common, even though he'll never notice me. But I used to draw a lot in school. I never taken anything like professionally. I'm all self-taught pretty much.
Really?
Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, people can decide in the next lot of comics I do. But I remember the thing I remember doing the most was these little Sonic the Hedgehog drawings in our school planners, because people say you're young. I didn't pay attention in school. No one paid attention in school, and they give us these like journals that we have to like fill out so we can remind ourselves of shit to do. Even though you'd think at a young age you'd have the willpower to remember stuff. It's not like these days where we're old guys and it's like you can't remember what you had for breakfast today. But and then aside from that, so people always like, I always got attention from that in school because people were like, oh, this is the kid who draws like the social outcast who has remained an outcast all his life. And then the other thing I remember doing a lot was with my sister. We would go to Newcastle, which is where my dad's side of the family is from. And we didn't want to hang out with our grandparents. So me and my sister would just go into the bedroom and draw South Park mini comics, having never seen the show because we weren't allowed to watch it. My mum wouldn't let us watch it because we were too young. So also we know of it was like the appearances of the characters, so we'd just make our own story, and we'd heard that there was swearing in it. Which when you watch it back, there isn't really any swearing in it. So we would use words like damn, and that was like the epitome of the harshest swear words to use. It's just random shit. Like my sister's saved a couple, and I'm still waiting to get hold of them so I can scan them.
Oh man!
So I can show my humble beginnings.
Cool.
So I think that's like somewhere subconsciously that must have sparked the need to want to do like comics and stuff. But like I say, in school, I never took art work or art related classes. The thing I was most famous for was our school teacher who had an art class, but I only came across him when he was our substitute teacher. So he looks like a guy called Mr. Bean. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, Mr. Bean.
He looks exactly like this guy. And so people in our classes because James is the outcast guy, people was like always making me do shit that's gonna get me in trouble. But they're all like, "Oh yeah, we'll cover you. We won't say it was you." So one day, when he was substituting a class for us, one of the, shall we say, bullies made me print out a load of pictures of Mr. Bean and stick it on all the computers, and especially his computer, so that when he'd come in, because he knew people called him that, and it always riled him up.
Did it? Oh man!
And then he was like, "Who the hell has done this? I'm sick of this Mr. Bean stuff." And everyone pointed at me, and I was like, "For fuck's sake, are you serious?" So that made me famous because they give me like a detention for like a month. But, so I don't know if I did stuff like artwork for attention or something. Who knows? As artists, we're all weirdos, basically, at the end of the day. But then basically when I left school, because I didn't pay attention, I was too busy getting told off for shit. My only choice was to go into catering. So I trained to be a chef when I left school.
Wow.
And so I did that. I actually did that professionally for 6 years, and it ended up in like a prestigious 5-star fine dining Japanese restaurant, which I did for 1.5 years until it closed down because it just went in debt so fast.
Oh,
because they tried to do a load of stuff like, they wanted to replicate the top restaurants in London in Manchester, which was the city that I moved to for this job. But after like, I don't know, like 4 months or whatever, it just became like a celebrity hangout, and it just priced like the working class people out of being able to actually afford it, because that was the whole point of it in the beginning, was to bring the London quality food, but you know, our local city prices or whatever. So it was in debt for like 4 million in a year, which is crazy. It cost about 3 million to open the place, and there was a load of managers getting paid. So what had happened after that was, because I was working with so many cool chefs, one of them happened to be a photographer. So this is where I'm slowly transitioning into like more creative things. And he did work for like the local city newspaper, which is like the most read paper, because it's called the Manchester Evening News. But the guy was moving to the country or whatever. So he was like, "Oh, you're interested in doing photography. Why don't you get in touch with these people who run the venues for concerts?" And these are like the top venues in Manchester. It's like the academies. And I'd had my camera for like a week, because the reason why I got it was to document like the chefs that I was working with, because again, the whole place was like so fancy and prestigious. I wanted to get like a photo journal of it. But by the time I got the camera, all of the good chefs, like all the highly paid and charismatic people, they all left because just the business was falling down. I was 19, but I was getting promoted every time someone left. So by the time I turned 20, on like the end of the first year, I was like running the place as a chef, which is cool. And that's not like a bragging thing either. Like, I was always told that I had like a natural gift for being able to take charge of stuff. Like when we were learning as students, after like your second year, you'd then start running the kitchen, which is open to the public. The whole facility in this a mini university, shall we call it, because our town's not that rich, so it's only a small place. But you would like learn from chefs, and then you would cook for actual people, so you're getting like real world experience at the same time as learning stuff. And so they would always have every week on a Friday, which was the busiest obviously for most restaurants, they would pick the best student basically to run the kitchen with the actual head chef, and it would be me every week pretty much. So transitioning to this place, the reason why I got this job in Manchester was because of how quick I was learning stuff and how good I was at doing stuff. But then when I realized, I was like, my time's ending at this place, what am I going to do? So I got in touch with these people who run the academies, and they basically gave me free reign to photograph any band, like any music artist that I wanted.
Whoa.
So for 2 weeks, I basically made like a portfolio. And then on one day, I just happened to be looking through magazines in like a local shop. And I remember thinking to myself, these photographs are really poor, and yet these are professional people. And that was just me being naive and thinking I'm top dog or whatever, even though like I'm so inexperienced. But the next week, I actually ended up with a contract with them. So I ended up working with the magazine for a year, which is awesome because then I got to meet like at festivals. I got to hang out in all the press places, so I get to meet like people from AC/DC and Dave Grohl's drummer. I always forget his name. Taylor Hawkins, I think it is. The people from Deftones and bands like that, like all rock-centric bands. And then somehow that led into me photographing for like independent independent t-shirt companies. So people would go on like storefronts like Big Cartel, which was big in the time, and they would do like fancy illustrations for like bands and stuff like that. And I would just photograph them and get paid with free t-shirts. Somehow that led me into getting a job with an actual fashion company, which was just this one dude and his brother. And I got hired to like photograph all these like pairs of shoes or whatever, because it started off as like a shoe wholesaler. Then I happened to mention like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks into it, that I could draw, because I started drawing a lot in between photographing, because I had a lot of spare time and coming to this job. Eventually, we started doing our own designs of t-shirts based off what I had done. And now the company's like a multi-million pound company, which is crazy. So I've been working with them for 6 years, for 8 years, doing photography because I had that experience, and then also drawing for clothing companies. Like ASOS is the main person that the clients are with. And then after a while, it's just like, you know what, I want to do something for myself and not just work for other people and not get recognition, but I want to be more directly involved. And then somehow that happened to me getting a lot into comics because of The Walking Dead again. I collected like Superman comics on and off. And then when the Snyder and Capullo run started with Batman, that really got me hyped of comics again. But then I got wind of The Walking Dead, and I'd seen it on my friend's dormitory room. She had like a poster of the first issue. And I was like, oh, that was cool. And it's zombies, but I never thought about it ever again. And then like 2 years later, the show started coming out, and I was like, oh, wait, this sounds familiar. And my friend told me, oh yeah, like she got dead excited and told me about this show. The Walking Dead was like kicking off. And then I got hooked. And then I started reading the Walking Dead comics, and that got me even more hooked. I was like, you know what, this is what I've been missing. And then that brought me onto Ronnie, who is the creator of Doomsday Kingdom. He wanted to make this into like screenplays, like for films, because that's what he'd studied. Until it became clear that there was way too much information or content that was going to get cut if you just did 5 films, and then that was it. So we started writing it as a novel. But then, again, because The Walking Dead kicked off, The Walking Dead did things that he was trying to do, which had never been done in zombie entertainment, which was to make you care about characters and stuff like that. And obviously then Game of Thrones came out, and then they did like similar things where it's like you get super invested, but nobody's safe. You don't know really what's going to happen to the characters. So he got deflated from that and then stopped working on Doomsday Kingdom. Bear in mind, he's been working on this for like 10 years. So he was like, fuck it, I'm going to start like throwing up information on YouTube on his channel. And me just being a fanboy just commented saying, dude, why don't like you just do it into a comic? Because that's what other people were suggesting, like just make it into a comic. But he was anxious because of The Walking Dead being such a popular zombie comic. So when he put the like chapter previews up, people were like, this is nothing like The Walking Dead, so there's plenty of room for you to do it. And so that's when he started getting serious. So he had like a friend who was going to be the artist of it or whatever. But I left a comment saying, oh, I would love to do something like a cover or something, not knowing how any of the process works. And luckily, he didn't know how any of the process works. So I kind of like flew in there without needing much experience. But I did him some like sample images, and he liked what he's seen. And the thing that clinched the deal was the guy that he was going to work on the comic with wanted money up front before anything was even produced or anything like that. Which, if you're making independent comics, you really need to put time in to actually get work done before expecting stuff. And so then eventually, after us working behind the scenes for like a year, like getting the first issue made, and then we had issues with copyright, it just took ages for it to actually process. Then we publicly came out in like 2017 with the first issue, and it's just spiraled from there. So like it's been a slow release up until this point, but now that we're confident in the future of the comic, that's what's led me to quit and come here to talk to you.
Holy cow!
So it's a long,
that's
lot of things happening to get to this point, but that's essentially it.
That's pretty freaking awesome. So, would you classify yourself as a really good cook?
Yeah, but I've forgot more than you know at this point.
Oh, kind of like when you learn a language where if you don't practice enough, then you start to forget things.
Yeah, like I can just about do hot dogs now.
Oh, dang.
I think I could have just had some before the show, so I was like, there's my culinary talents going to waste.
I love hot dogs. I love hot dogs, despite how bad they're supposed to be for you.
I mean, now it's basically been like 10 years since I was in a kitchen, so.
Gotcha. So, welcome, Bristolian Dave. In Britain, we only write about important stuff, like which is the best biscuit to go with a cup of tea. It's a chocolate digestive or custard cream. Do you agree with that?
It's definitely not a rich tea. There's a biscuit called the rich tea, which is made primarily for people who drink tea, but it's so structurally compromised that as soon as you dip it into a hot beverage, you've lost it. It's gone straight down the cup. It's like, I don't know why they don't have the resilience, which is where the digestive comes in. The digestive biscuit was made purely just to aid digestive, but people are like, this is boring. So someone came up with the idea of putting chocolate on it, and now we have chocolate digestives, which the chocolate gives it an extra barrier of protection when you dip it. So in terms of these two questions, I would go for the chocolate digestive, but I was hoping he would have said bourbon, which is like pretend chocolate, which is a better alternative than custard cream biscuits, which is basically just 2 slabs of biscuit and then like a cream in the middle.
Okay.
Custard flavor or whatever. It's really basic, but
all right. Either way, it sounds good. Doomsday Kingdom is a beautiful book. It has a fantastic story. If you haven't backed it yet, do it now. Agreed. Thanks for dropping links, mods. Appreciate it. You're not an outcast now, Jim. You've got us a lot. CGUK.
God, I don't know if that's a compliment.
Well, you've also got CG. Welcome, Balzette. Waves and smiles. Yotam Darkstar. Hello, hello. Welcome, Patrick Furtado. Hello. Welcome, Jacobus Gotex. Aloy. And welcome, Nefarious. Hail, ladies and gents. Welcome, Nova Blast. Hail, WyzGyz and LovePigeon. Welcome, Doomsday Kingdom Army. Hail, all. Oh my gosh. You are very popular.
I know, we've got a lot of viewers today.
Yeah, I know.
They've all come to see you, not me.
No, they came for you, man, because they know you're like, not only are you a 5-star chef, you're a comic book artist, and you're a photographer, professional photographer, and you're also a professional singer.
I'm now doing the theme tune to our CGUK Junior show, which we've yet to reveal the full name for it. But I'll be doing the opening theme song, which I did not agree to. It just got thrown upon me.
Hail. Hello, everybody. Welcome, MaxWorks. Hello. Don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, I studied 3 years of French. And I
don't have an example. But the rich tea, you literally have to go, and then that's it. Otherwise, you've lost it. I don't know why they make it so fragile. It's made for this. It doesn't even work for the purpose it was made for. That's just how British it is.
It dissolves immediately.
Yeah.
The only biscuit for tea is Tunnock's Caramel Wafer. Caw.
Never even heard of it, Wooly.
Welcome, Wooly. Isn't that similar to? Oh shoot! What is the name of it? There's this. I guess it's Swedish. It looks like two thin waffles, two thin flat waffles, and it's got caramel in the middle. And you're supposed to. I don't think I've had it before, but you're supposed to take your cup of tea. You know, it's piping hot, and then you set the little cookie on top, and then the steam from the tea softens the caramel thing and makes the caramel gooey, I guess. And then you.
Oh yeah, it's there's caramel waffles or syrup waffles. It's just basically one thing. I don't think there might be double versions, but I know what you're on about now. But it's too much effort. I just hold it in, like hold it in, just directly dunk it, and just hold it for like 10 seconds. That does the job quick enough.
Everybody in chat, post your favorite way of drinking tea. What kind of biscuits you dip into it? Your tea.
We're gonna start a war with this stuff.
Welcome, Wolverine. Salutations. Check out Doomsday Kingdom Volume 1 graphic novel. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, Stroop waffles. That's what I'm talking about. I've never heard of that, but it sounds good to me. Indeed. I refuse to drink leaf soup. You're missing out, my friend. My favorite way of drinking tea is to drink fucking coffee like.
I agree with that. I don't even drink tea anyway.
I drink tea. So, I also drink coffee, so this is the one I'm sipping from right now.
I was going to say to Bristolian Dave, if not drinking tea gets me kicked out of CG UK, that's just something I'll have to sacrifice.
Man, everything will just spiral downhill if you leave CG UK.
I know. The last few shows have been a complete shambles.
Have they? There's only bean juice.
Only what?
Bean juice. I think they mean coffee bean juice, which is coffee. Welcome out, Gargoyle. Thanks for the eggplant. Stroop waffle sounds funny. Yeah, I hear it's good though. I haven't tried it yet. Only tea I'll drink is twisted tea. You know, I don't think I've had that before. I typically don't drink alcohol. Amen, Wolverine. I only ever drank tea to hide the fact I was trying to drink sugar water. My goodness gracious. Hey, welcome Black Rose Comics. Call.
Black Rose.
Right on. So how long has this this book been in development? I mean, it's been on and off, and you connected with another creator, right? Doomsday Kingdom, Public Enemy #1. Was this at one time self-published prior to this as well?
Yes. So, like I said, because we were unsure of like how we were going to even proceed with making this into like a business, and the fact that we had massive competition with The Walking Dead, it was like, how do we go about doing this so it doesn't look like we're trying to rip off? Because that's what a lot of people insinuated. It's like you're just trying to copy word for word, picture for picture, so you can just make money on it because you're a Walking Dead YouTuber or whatever. And it's like, that makes no sense whatsoever, because we would be struck down like before the first page even gets released, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when people finally realized that we were serious about it, because we promoted it for like at least half a year, or at least half a year or a full year, with his audience, because like I say, they're primarily zombie focused, so it would be something that a lot of them would be interested in.
Okay, all right.
So then it was like, all right, well, let's put our words in our mouth, because Ronnie as well, like he's very he's got a clever way of thinking about breaking down TV shows or stories or comics and stuff. And especially when it comes to zombies, like he's heavily versed in all that stuff. So he knows what's out there, knows what's been done, what can be improved, and also where you can like twist it to fit your own needs, kind of thing. Because that's another thing like the channel does was like criticize. It's like a film critic basically. So some people would be like, oh, you know, put your money where your mouth is, like make a comic. So we did, and then it ended up like selling over 1,000 copies with the first issue. So that after that point, we were like, okay, maybe people are interested in this. And so we basically just did it ourselves. Like I had some background in designing stuff for like brochures and stuff like that for the fashion company. So making a comic book wasn't that much different in terms of like knowing what kind of paper to use, what printers to use, because I had a couple of printers that we did test versions of, which I've still got. Some of them were even perfect bound. Like the very first issue prototype was a fully premium perfect bound version before we decided to go for the floppies because of cost, obviously, and us being new, we didn't want to spend too much because obviously none of us were getting paid. It was basically just, here's the first issue, see what you think of it. And even in digital, we did like 400 copies of that and 1,000 print. So we had like 1,400 sales from the first issue, which was insane. So then we actually managed to do conventions when they used to happen, which was good. So we managed to get like public interest. And it was mainly me doing the conventions because it's way cheaper to do a convention as an artist in the UK than it is in America. Because at that point, they're still catching up. I mean, the shows that up until Corona stopped all of the conventions, we actually had our very first like 2-day long convention, which is not that uncommon in America. But for the UK, it was like, you're doing 2 days of a convention for comic nerds? Like, are you crazy? Like, no one's going to come up and show up. But we ended up, the places that I would go in my city, it was like at least 50,000 people a day or whatever. When it first started off. So I promoted it through that. So that got us like new people. And I would always bring like, I don't know, 50 copies of the first issue, and it would sell out on the first day, which was cool. And then I would like just draw, because I've got nothing else to do. Like I'm just sat there waiting for someone to buy something. So it's like I'll just draw, and then that got people interested in it because everyone likes seeing the process, even if they're not like artists or whatever. And myself as well. Like I love watching other people like make stuff.
Yeah.
So we, after about a year, like we finally managed to get enough traction that we could actually do the second issue. The thing with self-publishing though is that it obviously entirely depends on just those sole people. So we don't have like people helping us package stuff or ship stuff, because you can imagine for a new team, especially when I'm in the UK and he's in America, and it comes to like sorting out the logistics for shipping stuff and not doing it before, obviously it takes time. And then us both working full time has made it so that we ended up doing like an issue a year pretty much. So we lost some traction because of that, but again, none of us knew how big this would actually get. And then the plan always was to like do a volume eventually. So then coming up to like last year, well, 2018, which is like the CG birth, I just started making my rounds basically of like seeing who was out there, because the same thing that happened with The Walking Dead that happened with CG, and the fact that it kickstarted my desire to want to do independent comics. And so long story short, we basically did our self-publishing for 4 issues. And then knowing that the 5th issue was going to wrap up the first story arc and the first volume. And because we'd like decided, you know, the whole independent scene is booming again with Indiegogo stuff. And we've always held the principles of CG before we even knew what CG was. We're like, oh, this is a good chance to mix our existing audience and spread it to other people. And it's worked out. So our first campaign, which launched in July, and then we finished fulfilling after a couple of months of delay in November. and that did pretty good for us to cross-contaminate the pool of CG. So like we know like people that backed our books in the past obviously backed the volume, but then they've also gone on to back other people's projects, which is the goal all along ultimately, is to help bring attention to everyone's books, not just yourself, because you won't survive it if you're just focused on you and that's it, because no one's going to know who you are in this crowdfunding scene. So
this campaign, was it the first 4 issues all in one volume, or the first 5 issues all in one volume?
So it's the first 5. So the 5th issue wasn't printed at the time of printing the volume. We've released it digital because we might as well just finished fulfilling like we had been doing before the volume was a thing. And then moving forward to the future, with Public Enemy #1, our plan is to do these double-sized books. So it's 2 issues in one book, but with more pages than what we normally do in like a single floppy. So we're going to see how the crowdfunding works out for that. Just because, again, like a lot more buzzes around crowdfunding. And especially when we get to do like things like the prints and the bookmarks and the trading cards, it really accentuates like the value for the project as well. And everyone likes to get involved in it.
Mm-hmm. So that first campaign did pretty well for you guys. Out of curiosity, since it seemed to garner so much interest, did you guys actually make any profit from it?
Yeah. So our total, I won't obviously go into figures, but we made just over $15,000 from backers.
Damn.
Considering, like, for us, this whole thing has felt like a reboot. Because like we still have our hardcore audience that's come from wherever we've accumulated them from. But a lot of it is new people from Indiegogo backing and stuff like that, and ComicsGate, obviously. So,
wow. Holy cow. That's good for a first campaign. And so...
I made enough profit to buy a van. That's the moral of the story.
Say again?
I said the profit has enabled me to get a van, so that's the moral of the story.
Oh.
So I made some money.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though. Quite often when it comes to crowdfunding, especially if you're doing it from scratch, a lot of people don't realize any profits until the 3rd or 4th book. So the fact that you guys did well and were able to kind of incorporate your original fan base from all the conventions and all that good stuff into following you to Indiegogo, that's really clever. That's really good.
A lot of people came from Instagram, but now it's mainly Twitter. In terms of like building an audience, like people know me more on Twitter now than they did on Instagram back in the day, which is cool. Like that's one positive of it.
Do you still actively post to Instagram?
Yeah, not a lot. I have in the last month or so, because of other people's campaigns, stuff that I'm drawing and stuff. But I'm too lazy. I don't really. It's a necessary evil, social media. Like I say, I'm in the transition of being in a van full time, so I'm getting further and further away from society. I'm just going to be the UK version of Kelsey, who just disappears for ages, just draws a load of pages in the woods, and then comes back when he needs the toilet. But
so, well, if you're on the road all the time, who needs a toilet? You just go out in the bushes or something, you know.
Exactly.
If you're going to be on the road eventually, which is your ultimate goal, are you basically equipped with like a tablet computer, or do you use a laptop?
Yeah, so at the minute I'm using a full computer, but I've mainly been drawing the last 15 pages purely on my iPad Pro. So that's obviously a lot more. That even happened with me. It's a lot more compact, and because of Clip Studio, like I can do everything in that. And I'm slowly getting used to the coloring. So I also color Doomsday Kingdom as well.
Okay. All right.
So the goal is basically when I moved from my house, which was my first house, I just realized it was way too big, and so you just fill it with stuff, and then it's like this stuff's not going to get used. So I threw a load of stuff out, and then I moved in 2 trips in my small Ford Fiesta crappy car.
Yeah.
And then I've got everything pretty much that I own is in this little cabin.
Oh wow!
But then when I get the van, more stuff's going to get rid of or sold or whatever, or kept in storage. Because a lot of it is comic books. Like I have this whole bookshelf full of hardcover comic books, which weighs a ton, and I'm not carrying them in the van. But when I do get the van, I am still going to be heavily active online because I've got a portable Wi-Fi booster and all this kind of stuff, and you can stream on your phone now anyway with StreamYard, so it's like it's not hard to keep yourself known. And the beauty of it is I also do traditional as well. So like I've started getting into painting. So by the time I actually move into the van properly, it's going to be spring. So I'm going to be able to like draw in the wild, like paint in the wild and all this kind of stuff. So I might actually do a YouTube series based off that, like LovePigeon in the wild or something.
That would be fun. Yeah. I mean,
because I'm doing it on the iPad, I'd say all I need is like an internet connection to send the pages to Ronnie or whatever. And then now that he knows how to finally put a print file together, he can do all that tedious work, because at the minute it was me on the doing everything. But now I've shown him how to do it, he can take some load off. But he also does the majority of the shipping, so it's not like I can complain about it. But the beauty, again, is like for digital, it speeds up the page process so fast. So our goal with Public Enemy #1 is essentially issues 6 and 7. So the campaign has the volume has 1 to 5. So that's the perfect starting off point for everyone that's interested in the story. And then when this next campaign launches at the end of next month, there'll be a chance to get the volume if you missed it on this campaign, because once that second campaign launches, the first one's closing.
Okay, all right.
Because I'm basically able to draw a lot faster. We're basically planning to do it in the monthly style, but release every 3 months, without much overlap, if any, because I'll be done with the final page before we even launch, if I keep to my schedule, that is. But with that, we're also going to have a lower price for the books as well and lower shipping, so it's not going to be as harsh on people's wallets if they obviously back loads of books at a time. But it's all a test. We'll see how this project goes and then see if we carry on with it or just do volume releases at the end of it. Like we might just do 2 books a year.
Okay. So you guys are getting your ducks in a row. Doomsday Kingdom Army says, hype to read Public Enemy #1. The 2 bonus pages in volume definitely added anticipation, and that cover is hot. It's fire.
So he's referring to, for people who back the volume, there was a special preview of Public Enemy 1 at the end of it. So it was like 2 pages that we shown off, which is not even in the single issue 5, which gets released next week or something for the single collectors. So because so let me clarify. We basically have our website, which is doomsdaykingdom.com, and that's where we'd been doing our singles and our artist editions and original art selling. But because we haven't really kept like a monthly schedule, the website from now on is basically going to be like a back issue store. So we know that there's people who like reading just 5 issues in 1 volume. We know there's people that don't want to have a single 22-page comic where they've read it so quick and then they have to wait for the story, which is why we're experimenting with this double issue format, so it's 2 issues in 1. But because with Indiegogo and crowdfunding, you don't have to stick to like a monthly schedule, it means we can add more pages into the turnaround and then compile that later on into another 5-issue volume. But like I say, it's all new for us. We don't know if this is going to be a thing, because ultimately everyone's goal would be to self-fund it without having to crowdfund every single comic. That was our goal when we first started, but because we're basically in this reboot stage where we're trying to build the audience back up and stuff, it's all down to the audience who determines what we end up doing. But again, it's just because we have a load of comic people from when we started our journey that some of them just don't. They just want the single issues, and then that's it. Like, they like collecting singles with the covers and all the covers being different. But in terms of release, we know it might cause an issue with, like, why don't people just wait for the single issues then if there's a double issue book or whatever? So our way around that is to not release the single floppies in a big quantity, but also not release them for months. So basically, the fastest way to read the story going forward, because that's another thing we want to try. Having these double issues gets the story out quicker, because we've got like a 60 issue plan basically.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term thing. And just again, because of Walking Dead, like, that's who we've based our model off, kind of thing. But we can end it shorter if we need to, or we can extend it. Because like I said, with zombies, there's not just surviving zombies and then that's the end of the book. There's a lot more you can do with a zombie genre, because it's basically like an open playground. It's adding a lot of story and stuff of like different genres. So you can have like sci-fi elements, or you can have bits of humor or conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff.
Okay. So your website, did you say doomsdaykingdom.com?
Yep.
All right. Oops. Uh-oh. Hold on. I wanted to drop that in the chat.
So another thing as well is, like, with the crowdfunding, it allows us to have like more premium books. With like the floppies, like, obviously we just do it how everyone does it, where it's not on like, it's on good quality paper because we have a good printer, but with crowdfunding you can have those juicy thick covers and, you know, perfect bounds and all that kind of stuff and all the extras. That's why we're excited about continuing that method on, because we'll always have like free things to give to people, obviously depending on how much money we make. So that's a lot more value that way.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Question for Jim. What was it like working with Ronnie? Did he write the script separately? How much collaborative storytelling was there?
All right. I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to. In the building of the first issue, he knows obviously where the story's going, what he wants the story to ultimately achieve, and the tone of it. He's going to be incredibly nervous, same as any new creator working with an artist that never worked with before, of like, are they going to pull it off in their vision mixed with the artist's vision as well. So with issue one, like, he wrote the script completely fully out and heavily detailed. So it was like, this is this has to be this kind of thing. And then when it came into collaboration aspect of it, it was obviously when it comes to the design of characters. So he would like have a sketch, and then it would be my job to fully flesh it out. So like one example is the appearance of the Rider character, which is the guy in the red armor. Ronnie's sketch was like barely more than like a stick figure, with like armor that's like stitched from head to toe, so you're like in this full leather tight suit. And I was like, there has to be some breathability, so I cut sections so like you don't have like leather surrounding your whole arm. So you got like movability, but also the option to be able to like unstitch. So if you just wanted to wear the leather vest, if it was like hot, for example, then you could take the sleeves off and then you could just wear the vest part. And obviously that will make for future interesting story aspects, because it's like, how heavily armored do you want to be, with the trade-off not being able to move as quick, but then having, it's the same, it's like a video game basically. Like if you have light armor, you're able to go a lot quicker, but then you have less protection. So it's like the trade-offs you get to play with. So it's not just everyone's invincible. Like no one's safe in our book, just like it did in The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. But then after the first issue, when he realized how we both worked with each other, then it was pretty much open for interpretation on the second issue script. Like it wasn't as detailed. And then I would come up with cool angles, because sometimes as a writer, you can write panel 1 is like so and so is on this side of the panel and he's talking to this person and something's happening, but we also need to show this. Sometimes it won't happen in that one panel, so you might have to split it up into multiple. Or you just find another angle that works in terms of getting the reader to zigzag through the page in a smooth motion. So when it comes to that, that's where the collaboration comes into play, where I can change the angles if I need to, or add or take away panels that just might not work from a written standpoint. And then with the latest issue, which was issue 4, we had this really popular background character that's pretty much become a main character because of the drawing and the body language or whatever. So like now we're a lot more liberal, and the way he writes the scripts now is basically he'll do a few pages at a time and then adapt it the next few pages based off what I've drawn. So if I haven't like stuck it exactly to what it says in the script, as long as the essence is there, or we come up with another idea as I'm drawing it, because I'd be like, oh, imagine this zombie was doing this to a cat, and it's like, holy shit, that's awesome, let's do that. And then it'll change the next few pages. So it's become way more collaborative now than it started off as.
Wow. You mentioned you are getting into painting as a traditional artist. What kind of paints are you looking at? Are you doing acrylics, oils, watercolors?
I am doing the watercolor, which I thought would be the easiest, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong with it. And so my debut of that was ComicsGate's Not Daredevil cover, which is the first fully painted thing that I've done.
Oh, wow.
So I'll just I'll share my screen so you can see.
Oh, right on. Good question, Nefarious. That's all watercolors?
Yeah. So this is 12 by 16 inches. The original's for sale on the campaign as well, but I'd done a little bit of painting practice, and I say that it was literally, this was my very first, which is nothing. It was of the same character, not Daredevil. This was me trying to learn gouache, and I was like, gouache is not working out for me. So then I went to practice with watercolor. So this is like the first test of the character I did traditionally, which was only like 2 days before I did that painting. And then I say the painting is the end product of all that. So it didn't take me long to get to grips with it. But I've learned a lot off that painting, and now I'm more excited to do like more and more paintings, especially for our own comic, which is what I'm doing for the trading card for Public Enemy #1. So we've got a little exclusive for you. Let me just get the screen up again.
Well, you're working on that, so I'm a little confused. In the first campaign, the first Indiegogo campaign, issues 1 through 4 were in the volume. Issue 5
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wasn't the 5th one like a PDF, digital only?
So the way we've done our releases is we will do the digital first. When it comes in terms of our own website, selling the digitals helps do the print costs for the physicals. So the print run is determined basically on how many people buy the digital. Those who just want to read the story or whatever, like quicker than other people.
Right.
But because the volume has 5 issues in it, it's a lot more costly. So that was the main deciding factor of doing a crowdfund for it.
Okay. So
which again is like a lot of pages.
And so the volume 1 actually does include all 5 issues then?
Yeah. So far you can't get the physical issue 5 single because we haven't printed those yet, but we are going to. And then, like I say, the future of the Doomsday Kingdom is to do these premium books with 2 issues in one. So we actually come up with a cool idea to do the front cover is issue 6 and then the back cover is issue 7. So at least people can still see like the different covers. So we keep that single issue mentality. with this. But again, if we were just doing the single issues like once a month, obviously the turnaround for that needs to be on point. Like I need to be drawing like every 3 weeks to have like a full issue done. So that would mean I would only do 22 pages. But because we're doing these double crowdfunded books where we can spend more money on the quality of the paper, the extras and stuff, it also gives us more time to add more story to it as well. So that means we can make the page count to like 50 pages for the story and then add another 10 pages for like behind the scenes and making of stuff. So that'll bring the books to 60 pages per book.
So if you got, all right, so this campaign, Doomsday Kingdom Public Enemy #1, that's issue 6 and 7 combined, right?
Yeah.
And then the cover for issue 7 is going to be on the back page, the back cover, back outside cover. So when you go to read issue 6 and 7, do you read it all?
It'll just be one. Yeah, it'll just be continuous.
Okay, all right.
Because that's what we did with the volume. Most like mainstream comics, they'll put like the cover break in between each so that you can know. But our whole thinking for doing a volume is that people want to read the story in a longer chunk, so we didn't want to like add what we'd basically class as like an advert break. It's like, oh, now you're on episode 2, or you know what I mean. So it's like we just did it continuous. And the other reason for that was initially we was going to have a cover gallery at the end of the book, so like you could see what all the covers were and what special covers we did for the independent single issues. But then we had the idea of doing a stretch goal and have them as actual prints. So the prints that come with the book on the campaign are the cover issue, the issue covers with no logos and stuff on them.
Gotcha. All right.
And so that also helped. It was very clever in our mind because the people that did collect the single issues, instead of us having to like print a virgin cover run of every issue, they can now just take their single issue that's bagged and board and then put the corresponding print, which is comic book size as well, like exactly. And they can put that in front as well to convert it to like a virgin cover.
Have you gotten much pushback from your original fans, your original fan base, about not offering them as individual floppies?
No, so we have like Discord and stuff like that. And then I also talk to like key supporters of the book, shall we say. And like I say, with the climate, it's just not feasible for us to rely on single issues at this stage, because it's, even though it's like cheaper to produce and stuff like that, it's just, it'll end up being too much work. So we're trying to lighten the load of like shipping to like contain it all into like one specific week of shipping kind of thing for the double issues, but also let us spend a bit more time so I can make the artwork better. He can add more story pages as well to flesh out the story, so that's another advantage to it. And then, like I say, like 3, 4, 5 months down the line, we'll just print like a single issue run of the issues individually, so those that still like to collect singles, they can. So we're just basically trying to cater to as many places as possible, because like I said, we don't know if comics for us will collapse in like a year's time or whatever, like the mainstream has. So you never know. So we're just trying to see what we can achieve this way.
Gotcha. Welcome, Dillard Draws. Zombie! Yotam tells Dillard, congrats on the Buckler passing 10K. Can't wait. That's freaking awesome. 10,000. Nice job, Dillard. That image of the guy standing with the Tommy gun looking like the Shadow, is that the cover?
Yes, that's the issue 6 cover. And there'll be the front side cover as well. It's not actually specific. The red is nothing to do with the Shadow. I wasn't even thinking about the Shadow. It's basically, in this, you'll fully understand why he's dressed like a 1930s gangster. But the red is also like a subtle hint to something in the previous issues. So that's for people to make their own mind up. But it also just makes a cool image. Like it's a cool look. And like we're trying to subvert expectations. So even though this is a zombie story, you're gonna have to ask yourself why all of a sudden has this character, who is the main character of the book, dressed up like a 1930s gangster with a Tommy gun? And the answer is in the pages, dear reader. And then I've just shared my screen as well. This is the layout for the trading card for this campaign.
Ah, looking good.
So basically, I don't know how much it's going to be spoiling, but if you can make out the blue outline attached to that strap, it's basically a duffel bag.
That's what it looked like.
It may contain a load of money.
Ah.
Actually, that's not a spoiler because we put it in the tagline. I think he's put it in the tagline where it was like, when's the best time to rob a bank during the zombie apocalypse is the answer to that. So there's a whole story around this whole costume and stuff. So
gotcha. Yeah, it does look like a duffel bag. At first I thought it might be weapons.
Yeah. So let me share another screen. And this will be the roughs for the issue 7 cover.
David and the world's greatest mullet.
So he's talking about a character that I was on about, where it was a side character that ended up being like a loved main character. It's like this. Oh. We call him the mullet man. Yeah. He's got like a ginger mullet and handlebar mustache. It was just supposed to be like one throwaway panel, but he ended up being like the main character in that issue and beyond as well. So.
Oh, okay. That's pretty funny. Check out Not Daredevil on Indiegogo. Oh, it's not. Yeah, that's right. It is now funding.
So this is going to be a bit of a mess to see, but this is the issue 7 cover. So you can see there that there's indicated money flying out of the duffel bag and is surrounded by a load of zombies. So one can only assume what's going to happen in this story.
Cool.
So yeah. Initially this was going to be a painted cover, but to keep it consistent for this the issue 6 one, I'm just gonna ink it. But the trading card, which I showed before, is going to be a painted thing, so people can get the original if they want to support that as well. And the originals for the covers will be on sale as well. The issue 7 will be.
Okay. Princess Pie?
That's one of our supporters, one of our fans.
Oh, okay. Welcome. I've never seen Princess.
We're trying to share out to everybody. We're trying to get all our fans to everyone else's shows.
Nice. Welcome. Hello, everyone. That sniz looks dope. Money. I like money. Maybe this book is for me. Welcome.
I like money. Back Doomsday Kingdom today.
Indeed.
And there's Ronnie, Makeup Off Presents.
Damn you, Mananui. Everyone's inviting Princess Pie with open arms. Welcome. Thanks for coming. So, Doomsday Kingdom, Public Enemy #1. When is a great time to rob the rich? During the zombie outbreak.
And the video is actually it was my quick fake attempt at a previously on The Walking Dead, but for Doomsday Kingdom, so it's a little catch-up trailer if you want to play it.
Yeah, by all means.
In a future world, one man's desire for vengeance brought him back to a time and place where events changed him in irreversible ways. But before that, there were beginnings of endings that altered the landscape of civilization as we had known it.
Uh-oh. What's up with my internets?
Just when it gets juicy.
Yeah, zombie juicy.
This is the story of a changing world and how some lives changed with it. A story about survival from those trapped within the Doomsday Kingdom, where there's a bigger story to tell.
For context, the laugh is the clown cover. I basically had to repurpose the trailer for this teaser for the next campaign. So on the original trailer, it had the clown show up on screen, but yeah, this is the sequel, so we're excited to continue the story, basically.
Clown cover.
Yeah, it's the issue 5 cover, which is in volume 1.
Who did the voiceover?
One of our fans did. She actually... No one asked her to do it. Like, it was a surprise gift for us. And when I got it, because I'm in the UK, America time does not translate well for me. So when I saw it, it was like 2 a.m, and I was like super tired. And I played it, not thinking, because I was like, oh, I wonder if she's just showing me like someone's comic or whatever, because it just was like a unlisted YouTube link. And I was watching it, and I remember getting super invested in the whole thing, not realizing until the very end that it was my book that she was showing me that she had done a fan video for. Because I was like, wow, this is a really good looking comic. And then it was me all along. So basically Ronnie loved it as well. So we re-edited it to take some of the heavy spoiler stuff out, and then refined the script a bit, and then she re-recorded it for this trailer so that we could put it as our campaign video. Because again, like without the fans, you don't really have a product. So it was good to get them like involved, because then the person who did the laugh as well was also another fan of the book as well.
That is so cool. When I first started hearing the laughter, I thought for a second that might be you laughing while we're watching the trailer.
So the trailer does a lot better job at pitching the comic than I ever will. But essentially, the Doomsday Kingdom, this all takes place in America to begin with. So the Doomsday Kingdom is a quarantine state in America, which is Wilkes-Barre, or Wilkes-Barre, I'm not sure how you pronounce it as an American, in Pennsylvania.
All right.
And you might notice when you read the book that it has similarities to how the COVID pandemic has pretty much happened. Because in the book, it doesn't like start off like, boom, here's a load of zombies, like the whole world's gone to hell. It actually starts on Independence Day, July 4th. After we have this little tease issue, which is issue 1, the opening of the volume, where it's in the future where the world has fell down. But it's only a very brief glimpse. And then issue 2, which is like 20 pages in the volume, is the present day. So we start at the beginning of the outbreak day. And essentially it's like a family story to begin with. Like it's a survivor that's just trying to get his family out of the state, not knowing really what's going on. But ultimately the Doomsday Kingdom is basically, to the rest of the world, everything's working as normal. So like when we first heard signs of the corona, a lot of people were like, this doesn't seem that big of a deal. It's in a faraway country. It's never going to affect us. But obviously it did affect us, and no one was prepared for it, even though we knew about it for months before it affected us. And it's the same with this virus. Like you'll hear like subtle glimpses in the background of like radios or TVs. That stuff's happening, but no one's really sure what it is. But the main character is not really focused on that, because his whole goal is to protect his family. So the book, especially this first volume, slowly reveals that something's obviously happening, like a zombie thing's happening. But it's not just people turn into zombies and then that's it. So how we're trying to make the zombie genre different is by having like the stages of zombie. So it's basically like if you're freshly bitten person, you don't ultimately get changed into a full-blown zombie straight away. You become kind of like comatose in a way, but because you're not a decrepit old like dead person, you have the strengths and motor skills of like any other person, so that makes it a lot more terrifying. So it's basically the equivalent of like running zombies, which both me and Ronnie aren't a massive fan of, but we found a creative way of incorporating that. Because there will be eventually like the stereotypical zombies, but then there'll also be like evolutions on that. So kind of taking that whole video game aspect into it as well. People might compare it to Left 4 Dead, but I've only played Left 4 Dead like once or twice when I was a kid, and Ronnie definitely hasn't. So it's not like we're trying to copy the model off that. Because like I say, he's been working on this for like 10 plus years, since he was in high school, basically. So based off what's already come out in the zombie media, he has like changed it so it's not the same. So we feel that we've got quite a unique approach to this whole thing. And like I say, in terms of the story, like we didn't want to just start off massive and like the whole city's burning. Like we want to have that whole sense of, is this actually happening kind of vibes. Just like with Corona, like obviously we wrote this before Corona happened, but it's just happened to play out in a similar way, which is quite convenient for us because now people have experienced it firsthand, so it gives you a bit more to relate to instead of just being a zombie thing where people get eaten and then that's it.
You guys started.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna delve heavily into like the origin of it. We're actually going to reveal what caused the virus eventually down the line. But that doesn't end the story. There's a lot of potential to do other things. Because another thing as well is our story, even though it's like grounded and trying to be realistic, it's set in the future by about 20 years. And then by the time the world's fallen, which you get a preview in the opening of the book, that's pretty much like another 20 years down the line. So if you imagine like military prototypes that we see now in our time, they could be fully realized in the timeline of this story. So you could have like a lot of more like sci-fi elements, not going too crazy like Terminator's taking over the war kind of thing, but you can play with aspects of that. So it makes it not just about the zombies, it's about the human race surviving as a whole, as opposed to just because of one simple threat kind of thing. So we think that's going to make it a lot more interesting down the line as well.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Lots of hellos. You keep mentioning Ronnie. Is that what everyone knows him as, or does he have like a handle, a special handle like he's known to on his YouTube channel?
Yes, it's Make a Path Presents.
Make a Path Presents.
So he's actually lurking in the chat.
Oh, okay. Thanks, all.
But he said he was busy with work, so he might not be able to come in, that's all.
Princess Pie loves this trailer. Nice. That clown was a trip, bro. Wilkes-Barre Row. Pretty cool. So let's see here. Yeah, everybody get in on this pre-launch early sign-up list. Actually, hold on, let me get back and
let me get his channel as well.
Yeah. There's a link to the campaign so you can get on the sign-up list because you don't want to miss out on this. You're also, by signing up and backing the campaign when it goes live, you're going to receive an exclusive art card.
Yes, that's the trading card that I've shown earlier.
When you say trading card, is that the size of what we in the U.S. refer to as trading card?
US standard size.
All right.
I don't have any of my comics in this studio, unfortunately, so I can't show you. But yeah, we've been doing trading cards since we started doing comics. And then we noticed that a lot of people did it on campaigns as well, so it's cool to get like an extra piece of artwork and stuff. And although we say sign up and you'll exclusively get the card. We was generous on this first campaign and we just gave it to everyone. We was like, fuck it, we'll because we want to, like I say, for us it's like a reboot, so we want to, we want to win your hearts as new people in the crowdfunding scene. So
yeah, it's really important and a good move on your guys' part to make Volume 1 available, because people are coming in on, well, some people who aren't already your fans are coming in on this IP late.
yeah.
So they'll want to get in on the early. They'll want to see how it all started.
Yes, like I say, it's a good jumping off point. And it was also for the people that we had people telling us that they didn't want to read the book until it had like 5 issues worth in it, because people just don't want to like buy single issues or whatever. But everyone has their own opinions, especially like comic collectors. Like people like collecting the single issues to bag and board them and stuff like that. But yeah, again, like the Indiegogo model is a lot more advantageous for us because, like I said before, we get to add more pages to the book, but also I don't have to kill myself drawing a page like within a specific day. I can, if it takes like 3 days to draw a page, like the cover, which you see on the screen, that was like 4 days of inking, just because it was like so much detail to add in that. But just continuing with the single 22-page format, it would be like the artwork could get sacrificed or the story could get sacrificed, so it's better for us to do the crowdfunding aspect of it.
Welcome, People Circus. Oh my gosh, People's back. Haven't seen you in ages. I know you're extremely busy these days on the CGUK channels. Sweet.
We actually spoke to him on the show yesterday because he was on the CGUK show like normal. But let's say everyone in CGUK, there's a lot of projects coming that have not even been shown, but we've been sneakily teasing each other with our upcoming projects. And I have a project coming out after this book.
Oh,
with a CGUK person as well, so that'd be cool.
Holy cow. Yeah, you guys have all kinds of stuff in the works.
Hell yeah. Taking over the world just like we did with America.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are still doing it, but Mark was doing those streams where... Welcome, Ronnie Hayes. How's it going? Can you hear us? Say something.
Hey, give me 1 minute. I'm having a problem with my setup. Just 1 second.
All right. Yeah. Mark was doing this thing where CGUK was taking over one country at a time in Europe. Are you guys still doing that?
Yeah. I mean, in the vein of our forefathers, we will commandeer your countries and your wallets.
Because I think you guys already took over France, right?
Yep, they are no more.
Or they gave themselves to you.
Wales is now solely owned by people.
Is that right? Oh my gosh! Yeah. Wow. Can't let the power get to his head, though. Yeah, thanks for dropping links, mods. Been busy, bro, in it. We say we should have got you to do the Red Dwarf theme tune, Voice of an Angel. Red Dwarf. So are you... Red Dwarf theme tune. Voice of an Angel. No.
We just did a Red Dwarf special CGUK show yesterday.
Oh.
So we missed out on a golden opportunity to have WyzGyz do the theme.
I thought he was talking about you doing the theme.
No. Like I said, I don't want to compete with you. You're the reigning singer of CG. No one can take that from you.
Until I get dethroned. I don't even know how I even managed to beat out 6 a.m. comics for best soundtrack. That was pretty funny.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I had an update and it wasn't showing my, my microphone setup for output for the sound. So it kept running the sound out of my desktop, but it was picking up my microphone for the mic, but it just wouldn't let me click on the option for output. So it was just out of whack. So, all right. Looks like we're all set there. What happened?
Good to have you.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, bud.
Thanks for popping on.
Yeah, I was doing some tree trimming. I was helping out, making some extra cash, and things ran long, and it was just a mess. But I'm here.
Oh,
sorry to come late and jump into the game.
No, it's all good. It's all good. My streams traditionally run long anyway. People says I own whales. Still waiting on the Eye of the Tiger cover. Hey, I'm working on it. It's in the works. I also owe Kami Marka a song too.
That might be a challenge because they've also asked me to do Eye of the Tiger as well.
Is that right? Oh my gosh.
Maybe they plan to overlap us as a duet without us knowing.
That'll be interesting. An unintended duet. It'd be challenging to get the timing down right though, if they're two separate audios.
That'll be the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So deaf and out of place.
That would be so funny, wouldn't it? Excuse me. So we've got Doomsday Kingdom, Public Enemy #1. The creative team behind Doomsday Kingdom, Volume 1, is back to continue the story with Public Enemy #1, which follows the events from the previous book, written by Ronnie Hayes with art by James Milne. We follow a group of friends and strangers during a zombie outbreak. Did I hear right, Ronnie, that this has been in the works for roughly 10 years?
Yeah, James got it pretty much on the money. My whole idea growing up was I loved the zombie genre like crazy, but I never liked any of the characters. Like I get it, George Romero, I love him too, just like everyone in the zombie genre. But Mayan was a little bit different. He inspired so many people to, continue doing zombie stuff, but he also inspired me to make characters we like. I'm sorry, as much as I love the classics like passionately, I find the characters mostly flat. So my whole thing was I wanted a zombie story where you had the zombie story, the excitement, the gore, but people watched it like, and I don't mean to sound pretentious, but people watched it with the same emotional connection as like Schindler's List or something crazy, Saving Private Ryan, something where people get emotionally attached and it's gutting. And before The Walking Dead, I don't know if anyone pays attention. It might seem like it's always been there, but if you really go back and look, it really wasn't. The zombie genre was a mix between gore porn early on. How did they do it? Practical effects. And then it became something where it was a blend of action. You know what I mean? Like this action adventure zombie with gore porn stuff. After The Walking Dead, now we're starting to get stuff like Train to Busan and so forth. And but I quit essentially because I was working on this huge passion project where I fell in love with the story I was doing. And for anyone who has actually read the first volume, a little Easter egg, the main characters in the original draft were the bank robbers that we see in the volume 1. So I think that's a neat little Easter egg that I like. If you're a writer, after 600 different drafts, you go back and look at how different it becomes. But yeah, that was something I was working on when I was in high school.
Nice. Excuse me. Hey Jim, what is this link you dropped? Is that for the
volume 1? I don't know if you had it on your screen or not.
Is that different from the page I already have up?
So the one you got up is the sequel, and then the link I've sent you is the Volume 1 campaign, which is in demand.
Oh, it's in demand. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's still in demand.
Oh,
I just
right.
I just want to say one thing. I don't know why it's getting me, but now that I keep reading Doomsday Kingdom Public Enemy #1 over and over again, I kind of feel like maybe that, I don't know, because doesn't it sound like book 1? But it's not. It's actually, Doomsday Kingdom Public Enemy #1 is like the saying, like what they say about gangsters. Like Al Capone was Public Enemy #1. I don't know why, but now when I see that, I'm like, I'm so worried new people are gonna think, wait a minute, is this a first book? But no, it's it's following, but it's just the title has a #1 in it. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the brightest idea.
Well, I mean, I just took it to mean that. Well, I didn't know about the whole Volume 1 composed of the 5 issues, so I just viewed this as like a single standalone brand new campaign called Doomsday Kingdom, and then the subtitle was
Gotcha.
Public Enemy #1.
Yeah, because Volume 1 was actually called The Feeding Post, so we have like a subtitle thing going on.
Gotcha.
Maybe we should put that in this campaign page.
Probably.
The creative team behind Doomsday Kingdom Volume 1, The Feeding Post, is back.
Oh, that would be a good idea. Yeah, I mean, if it'll allow you to edit it, sure. Is this the Volume 1 Indiegogo? Is that supposed to have underscores before volume and before 1?
The private link that I sent should be enough.
Yeah, it's just that the link is broken when you.
Oh, it's because I put Volume 1 in text, so it's just the. Hold on. What's that?
Let me do a manual search.
I've sent it again.
Oh, all right.
Well, if my internet's working.
It hasn't. Oh, there it is. Copy. All right, let's try this again. No, all right. 128 pages. Yeah, that's 5 issues. Sweet.
Look at that stack of books. It's amazing that behind me now, that's all gone. We have just a small stack now left for anyone that is just finding out about us. You might as well, if you're interested, jump on in and get the remaining copies, because we're never going to print it with the blood splatter again. So, or at least I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing to keep the first print, special.
Because the blood was made specifically for the campaign.
Yeah, like a reward for them. So, the next time we reprint it with Public Enemy #1, it's going to be just the plain, cover with no blood splatter. Which I'm actually excited for, because now we get, that art with I love seeing the art in different ways and variations, whether it's black and white or blood splatter, no blood splatter. So I'm actually excited to get a clean version.
This image, especially with the clown mask, looks so familiar. Didn't I have you on before, Ronnie?
I don't think it was me.
That looks so familiar. Oh, okay.
Somebody could have shared it with you when we were, first coming out with it.
I haven't know. Someone's trying to copyright us.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Someone was sharing it, and I hadn't heard of you guys yet. So it popped over and checked out some of the imagery. Ronnie, you're the storyteller. You are the author, and Jim, you're the artist. You're doing. How is what medium are you basically using on this sequel, if you will? Are you going with? Are you doing everything traditional, or are you like getting the sketch work and inks done in digitally and then printing them out onto 11x17s and then throwing traditional paints and stuff on it? Yeah,
so the comic itself isn't painted. The painting would take me way too long to do a page if it was every page. So all of these issues that's in the volume, I've jumped between digital and traditional, just depending on how much time in the day was available. And also, if it's not a really overly exciting page, I don't want to spend more time doing it traditional, because it's just, I can take that time and put it on like a splash page, for example, and do that traditional. So it's kind of like a 60-40 split between traditional and digital. In the issue 5, which is like most of the end of the volume book, that was all traditional, just because I went and had more space to do it. But like I say, my future plan is to do everything digital, just so I could be more portable. But it also lets me do pages a lot faster. Because the one thing you have to be cautious about is like how much the artwork changes from one medium to the next. People reading it might not notice it, like the line work might look different to a digital drawn thing. My only issue with digital sometimes is that the artwork looks too clean. So I'm slowly getting to a balance where it has that hand-drawn feel to it, because I don't even use like the automatic straight line rulers or something when I'm doing digital. Like I freehand like the backgrounds and all that kind of stuff to give it that hand-drawn feel. But yeah, it all just comes down to the end of the day of like how much time I've got for a specific page.
Okay, cool.
And then it's all digital, colored in Photoshop or Clip Studio.
Oh, okay. All right. You go between both of those programs. We got an important question here from Dillard. Okay, I signed up, but why should I stop masturbating even for a second to share out this campaign?
You shouldn't.
Well, you can multitask, Dillard. That's true. Good to know. Good to know. All right. People says, let's get this sorted. What is Romero's best zombie film?
What is Romero's? Well, what is the best within the fan base or our own personal take? Or I think there's a couple ways you can go with that. I think universally it's Dawn of the Dead. I think that's pretty much the majority would pick.
Wolverine agrees with you.
Yeah, although my favorite is the Zack Snyder remake.
The remake of Dawn of the Dead?
That overhead car shot in Zack Snyder cut just sold that film for me.
That opener's banging. I mean, it is good.
So is that what you would pick as a personal favorite as well, or as the best zombie film in your?
For James, I think James picked the remake. I would at this point in time, I'm gonna have to go with Day of the Dead. Yeah, and it just inches Dawn out a little bit. And you know what it is? It's the blue zombies and it's the terrible blood from Dawn. They just totally corrected it, because they even talk about it. They got the wrong paint or the wrong blood. It looks like paint. It looks like pink or red paint, and it's terrible. Dawn has so much charm. I love it for that. But I gotta pick Day.
That kind of ties into that trading card artwork that I shown earlier, Ronnie. Because I've put it as like a bluish green zombie.
Yeah.
But our character's killing it, so take that.
I'm good.
Welcome, Bionic Bruh. Dario Hernandez was just struck. You have my undivided attention.
I'll show what happened to him.
Not sure. People says, Day for Mr. Me. Love them all, but Day is the darkest and best FX.
Yeah, it has one of my all-time favorite scenes, I think, in a Romero zombie film where the guy yells, choke on him. Rhodes, Captain Rhodes. He's getting his guts ripped apart. And if you haven't heard the behind-the-scenes story to that, oh my God, I give them mad props. You ever hear that story behind that scene? Do you know where the guy falls on the ground? And it's one of the most iconic. I think they kind of just dig at his belly and then pull his body in half, like apart. I think it was one of the first times they ever did that in the US. I know there was a foreign film that did that, but what happened is they had real pig intestines, and the fridge, someone unplugged it. So the pig intestines started to rot. and they stank like a dead body. They said it was vicious, and it was the only pig intestines because back then it was expensive. You didn't know where else to get them, so they had to use the rotten ones. And for the crew and for the main actor, I think they were even giving him a bag to throw up in. They were trying to blow a fan on him. I mean, he said it was terrible. It was like, I can only imagine. Damn. So that scene is so epic. And you know what? There's another one where I just remembered where he rips out the guy's throat, and they did this really cool sound effect for the voice box where it's like, that shit is fire.
Oh my gosh. Hey, welcome, Christine. I'm here, but very sleepy, so just listening and offering silent support. Smile. Thank you so much, Christine. Dillard says the remake is the best zombie film, hands down. People says the remake was way better than it could have been. Really?
Oh, should have been.
Black Blood. Says people.
Although Train to Busan is the top contender now.
Yeah, I think it's as far as zombie movies, Train to Busan is probably my top right now at this point in time. It just leads. I love that movie.
It's got so many good reviews.
Oh, it's incredible.
Zombie movies have never been my thing, nor has horror. But
yeah,
the weirdest thing is, ever since I joined CG in the end of 2019, many of the books I've backed have been zombie.
Yeah.
It's just been pretty funny. Looks awesome. Savini knocked it out of the park. Tom Savini's is that Night of the Living Dead was better than Romero's too.
Oh, he's talking about the 1990 remake for Night of the Living Dead.
Oh.
Yeah, that had they did improve the woman in that, but Barbara, but I think they went a little too much because she turned into like, Rambo. I think they overcorrected. I think somewhere there was a sweet spot and it was working well. But then when she turned into Rambo, it was like, oof. It was like, that's too much. I still appreciated where they were going with it.
Lord Crackhead, welcome. Dario got hit and it brought me directly to here. Well, you're welcome here anytime.
Well, apparently still mentions what's happened.
Oh, okay. Christine says he was showing World Wrestling Entertainment female wrestling. Lasted about 2 minutes and then got struck. Jeez. 2 minutes of WWE and
they're notorious now though for copy striking people, innit?
Yeah. I mean, I get struck too, but I haven't in a while. I usually get copyright claims after the fact. But there have been a couple cases where I've been false flagged. Man, that sucks.
Yeah, Peephole. I think Greg Nicotero from The Walking Dead actually did the effects because Tom Savini directed the remake. I'm pretty sure it was Greg Nicotero and his group that did the effects, if I'm not mistaken. But they were good.
Wolverine says, but the Dawn remake had one glaring, unforgivable problem. According to that movie's own rules, the zombie outbreak could never have started.
What was the remake's rules? I forget.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't know. I forget.
And I wouldn't know. Dillard says he started a stream called We Rank Every Girl in CG. And then that's a stream where he played some WWE footage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
And the coward guy who led the lift down, gut opening is cool. That's a very dangerous topic Dillard draws. I was there to represent. Savini is a Vietnam War photographer vet. He knows his stuff. I have faith in you, Christine. Man, now I just want to make a zombie trading card.
Inspiring the youth.
Yeah, there you go. Reach out to these guys. Tokyo Zombie is number 2. You guys familiar with Tokyo Zombie?
I don't think so. Let me type that out.
I've not heard it.
I think it's an older one he's talking about. Tokyo. I was thinking of something newer. Yo, zombie. Yeah, 2005. I never saw that one.
I don't know. I gotta say, Train to Busan, best zombie movie for me. Interesting. Train is number 3 for Dillard. Well, now I know you're here. I might not be so quiet. One Shot of the Dead was super cool, fun. No spoilers, just watch. Best zombie film for a while. Okay.
Oh.
Never be quiet for me. It's been a long time since I've seen a great zombie film.
Who needs a film when you can read Doomsday Kingdom?
There you go.
She's actually read it though.
Let's see.
So she knows I'm not lying.
Savini remake was great. He didn't do the effects though. Pretty dark film though, and sweet effects. Graveyard scene is cool. I'm pretty sure you already responded to that, Ronnie. Let's see. One Cut of the Dead. Sorry, great film. Shaun of the Dead was fun.
I like Shaun.
You got to see One Cut of the Dead. Great Japanese zombie film. Super good fun.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that one. I started watching that, and I remember giving up like 30 minutes in because it's like a real... I just felt like it was like a slapstick comedy kind of a zombie. And for me, comedy and zombie stuff is like... I get to that the very last. I don't want comedy zombie stuff. I even with Shaun of the Dead, like I enjoy it, but I don't even think it would be on my top 10 of favorite zombie stuff. I just don't enjoy the comedy. I like it to be real and, you know, visceral but I'll have to look that one up again. One Cut Above the Dead or something.
One Cut of the Dead.
Yeah, that's it.
According to the Dawn remake, only those who were bit rose as zombies. Original rules, all dead bodies rose. If you have to be bit to rise, it never starts because there was no one biting.
Yeah, that's a funny thing where, I don't know, it's so, like the zombie genre fandom kind of splintered off between people who like really like it, but they don't really... they're kind of casuals when it comes to the rules. Cause I see that all the time where people talk about the rules and so many people talk about how The Walking Dead created this and it created that. And I'm like, that's not true though. Night of the Living Dead already had the rules. Like for example, if you die, you turn. In Night of the Living Dead, that's always how it's been. So you're right. Around the remake, and there was a couple other zombie movies, they made it where when you get bit, you turn. But that's not how it was in the original. I just had an argument with someone before because they were like, yeah, The Walking Dead did that and no one else should do it. And I was like, that's not true though. It's always been that way. Watch the, whatchamacallit gets stabbed to death and she turns in the basement in Night of the Living Dead. So, but yeah, I think the remakes and all the other stuff that kind of came up out of it, some other different, B zombie movies, it just got warped. I didn't know it was like that in the Dawn remake though, but yeah, that sounds a bit off.
Christine prefers subtitled. Dubbed is distracting for her. Subtitled, slow start but very cool, super enjoyable watch. Zombies have ironically been done to death. Let's see. When it comes to Zombies, Kingdom on Netflix is badass. Zombies.
Yeah, Kingdom is pretty good on Netflix.
Shaun of the Dead was great. Oh, cool. I'll check it out. 40 minutes in, it really comes together. Haven't seen Train to Busan sequel. Heard it was straight trash. Oh, they made a sequel?
Crash.
Busan was okay. Couldn't watch the last 10 minutes, though. Got tired.
Whoa there, people. Do you want me to take your country back? Wales will be mine once again.
I want zombies coming out of graves and stuff again.
Well, pick up Doomsday Kingdom. I'll give you that little hint. That's something that, as a big zombie fan, is right in my own thing too. I had to really focus and come up with a clever way, and I'm not joking either. You know, when we come out with Volume 2, I won't tell you when, but something similar is in there because I was always a fan of that nostalgic. Even Return of the Living Dead, I think, is great for that. It's older. It is a bit more comedic, which is funny, but it is it's twisted and it has the zombies coming out of the graveyard. We always picture that image, but the truth is, when you're trying to make a grounded zombie film, you know, they pour cement in real graves. How would the zombie get out of the casket, even if there wasn't cement? It's 6 feet under. The pressure alone. I mean, it's such a ridiculous idea. So when I was crafting the structure of the story, I knew there was certain things that were going to take place. And then I knew in one moment stood out to me. I was like, we got our zombie out of the grave moment, or maybe a couple zombies out of the grave, but it fits nicely within that world. But I'm not kidding. We're going to have some zombies out of graves, hand coming out of dirt. And it's not at all, well, we'll just have them come out of a regular grave. It's still grounded, which I agree. I love the visuals too.
Which was the film where it all started? Because a group of animal rights went into a lab where they were infecting monkeys with a rage-inducing drug, and one got bit. I can't remember the name.
28 days later.
Ah. I'll check out Kingdom 2 then. Well, admittedly, even under Romero rules, it was only the bodies of the recently deceased. Still no clawing out of the ground zombies, but those are cool too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a budgetary thing though. If I remember right, Romero even promoted his later stuff, Land of the Dead, with a big giant hand coming out of the dirt. Romero eventually got there, but we did see zombies in a graveyard. They just didn't, do the coming out of the graveyard.
You need to pick up Doomsday Kingdom just for the cover. That blood-splattered cover is sick. Return of the Living Dead and Thriller, great stuff. Does any Doomsday Kingdom book feature an all-bone zombie?
Well, we have someone called the Leg Bone in issue 1. We'll see him again, which is friggin' fantastic. His leg is so rotted, it's eventually going to fold in on itself, because it's like so bone. But no, we won't see an all bone just because it can't sustain itself. There's no, ligaments and muscles, but you will see parts of the body that are down to the bone. But this isn't Evil Dead. That would be cool, though.
I spent a lot of years on an RPG property I helped create called The Year of the Zombie. The writer and I are both old horror fans, and he's heavy on research. Zombie Arguments is an old friend for me. That's the one. I just couldn't remember the name. That was good. The 28 weeks later was pretty bad. 28 days, 12 monkeys later. I don't consider the zombies because they're still technically alive. Zombies are corpses, not people driven to insanity by what's essentially super rabies.
Oh, are you talking about 28 days later? I think if you want to get technical, they have they call them like infected. I don't give a shit about any of that. The Last of Us, 28 days later, Romero. I mean, it's all zombies. The Days Gone video game, they call them freakers. I just think it's a non-issue. It's like, it's zombie-esque, zombie-like. It gives you that vibe, that feel, that tension, suspense. It has the same kind of fun stuff. But if you want to get down to the technicalities, then yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was like, I always called it Evil Deadites zombies because I can never remember the word Deadites.
I don't care. Call them zombies still.
YOTZ is dead and long gone, sadly. Our publishers were small-time bumblefucks and fiercely fucked us over. Oh, man.
Damn.
That's unfortunate. I Love the Dead walk the earth in No Room in Hell scenario.
Yeah.
Ronnie, since you came in late, would you take a moment and share your origin story, how you got into the whole biz of writing stories, and what were your influences? How did you come about to even be a writer, and what ultimately led you into developing this book?
Well, it's funny, actually. I think it's actually interwoven within the zombie genre itself, and it stems heavily. Ever since I was little, I always loved movies. I always wanted to do something with them. I didn't care if it was, at the time, I didn't even know what it was, but I didn't care. And it wasn't like someone, like a movie star type, dream. It was someone who, like, I want to work in that industry somehow. I think I was thinking of even owning my own movie theater. That was like my big dream at like 5 years old. But eventually my brother came home with Resident Evil. What year did that come out? In like 1996 or something? But anyway, he came home with Resident Evil, and we stayed up. I think my parents were both working, so we stayed up. Now we're like 12 years old, right? So we stayed up and shut all the lights out, and we were up till like midnight playing this game, and it scared the shit out of us. I mean, that thing, I still remember the dog coming in the window was one of the greatest scares ever. And he even got like the import copy. So this is like fresh. Yeah, it dropped in 96. So I'm like 13 years old around this time. So there was something about it. After that experience, I knew the combination of what I felt with Resident Evil and the just being afraid and the tension and how exciting it was, the combination of that and always being inspired to loving the zombie genre, but never having the right characters that I can really grow a connection with. I kind of merged those two, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to write my own thing. So I actually started writing something that was really wild and ridiculous at the time, because the origin to the virus connected to the Fountain of Youth, and there was one story where it was like an Indiana Jones story, but it was really the origin of the zombie virus, but it had nothing to do with zombies. It was just kind of like a fun Easter egg for readers. It was so ridiculous at the time. I thought it was neat and inventive, but I'm like, I'm 13 and dumb as hell. So I was putting all this stuff together, but as the years went on, like maybe by the time I was 16 or 17, I started wanting to take it a little more serious and put it together in a screenplay. Because by that time I was studying screenwriting and taking courses and all that. So I wanted to put something more serious together. So I wrote one screenplay, and it grew huge. It turned into a double feature. What the hell? It's going to be a trilogy. And then those 3 movies turned into 5 movies. And then I was like, this can't be a movie. It's going to be a novel. So then it went into a novel, and I started a YouTube channel. I had mentioned the story. People liked it. And then I was like, James brought up the fact that I don't know if it was him directly or a combination of others and James. The idea of it being a comic just kind of, and in the past, I just never thought of it because I'm not an artist. I can't draw. So that's added a question. You can't just, do that. Anyhow, so then the plan started, well, maybe if we put out little pieces, like a couple pages here and there, we'll see what happens with it. And then James reached out to me. He sent me one picture. It was a guy being dragged on a rope. And there was something about the panel, about the artwork. There was this charm to it and the style too, that I really liked. And that's when I was like, I was dealing with someone who's, it was weird. It's like he wanted to make comics, but he wanted to just make the money. And he didn't even do any piece of like art for Doomsday Kingdom. So finally I was like, and this is someone I knew, I was like, well, I'm gonna go off and do my own thing. He didn't have any, we never collaborated with it. I just knew he did art, and I talked about, hey, you want to do a book, So it never even got to the phase where I tried hinting like, yo, I got the zombie story. You interested in doing something like that? He never even tried to do any art, which is funny because he's still doing the same stuff now, like 4 or 5 years after that. just doing nothing. And again, I think it's, if you guys have passion out there, if anyone is a writer, artist, whatever, there's some stuff you're just going to have to just do the work and see where it leads. You don't have to do free work for everyone. That's not what I'm saying, but you gotta, like me and James, we said, all right, we're going to make a comic, and we're not even going to worry about money till we have a product. And then we brought it out to people, and we were like, listen, we have it, so let's start selling it. Sometimes it's just what you got to do. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's pretty much how I got started with at least the comic book aspect of it.
Nice. Let me see here. The ones in 28 days just starved to death, so the 28 weeks later was a reach.
Yeah. But then the plan is to still do the 28 months later sequel.
Yeah, really. What kind of vibe is Doomsday Kingdom? Carpenter-esque doomed Earth, or Walking Dead optimism of humanity?
Well, we don't have that doomed Earth because, like I said, right now you're still struggling with the idea that it's a state, essentially, that's they can't do anything with it. The state is overrun. So on the outside, let's say, and I'm giving you an example, you gotta, in the story, you're going to get all the details as it plays out, but picture it like Pennsylvania, in a town, the outbreak happens. So there's a perimeter, and then they shut down like a state. It's not perfectly the state, but it's, the majority of the state. But the world carries on for months, maybe even years. We don't know. Maybe it always carries on. It kind of has that to it. So it won't, at least not anytime soon, you won't have any doomed Earth vibe to it. Maybe inside the Doomsday Kingdom, definitely. But when it comes to The Walking Dead, that's another tricky one, because I think The Walking Dead overdoses on its philosophy and, when it comes to the humanity aspect, it does OD on it as well. And as far as communities too, I think The Walking Dead also, but that's a TV show. They need to put it in one area, but it's going to be very different in terms of that. I think you're going to see a blend of, I don't want to say you're going to have a bunch of different genre stuff, but you kind of, in a way will. There are chunks that are straight horror like. There's even a couple, I would say maybe a few issues that blend into a couple story arcs that even have a slasher vibe to it. So you will get stuff like the bank robber stuff. I mean, it's kind of a little more action packed, but it still has that creepy. I keep trying to say something. I'm like, I know I'm going to say, too much, but keep the idea of, they're doing their job, but maybe they have to go through a certain location, that silence as they enter the buildings. They don't know what's there. They got the guns drawn, but you hear the sounds and they're making their way through. And even though they got armor, I mean, people can still get hurt. And even if you don't get hurt, things could go bad in so many different ways. So you still have, I think, a blend of vibes within Doomsday Kingdom.
All right. The ones in 28 days or weeks later weren't actual zombies. They weren't undead. They basically just had super rabies. Jim, what gets you in the mood to draw this stuff? What drives your zombie motif?
To chase the perfect tapered rendering line on the paper. Whenever I'm drawing artwork, traditionally, I don't have like OCD, but what I'm describing pretty much sounds like OCD. When I'm doing like the rendering lines, like the little feathered edges to dictate form, if they're not all the same, it starts to really bug me. Or if I do one direction, but it ends up going another direction, even though the whole piece looks great as like a whole, I'll just be drawn to that one tiny thing that no one even knows exists. So when that happens, that's what gets me excited for doing the next page, because I'm like, oh, maybe this will be the page that I don't mess it up, kind of thing. But also, the cliche answer or the soppy answer is what Ronnie's writing, because like I say, it's not just like I'm heavily versed in how The Walking Dead was made and drawn and all this kind of stuff. But this is so different to anything that I've seen myself that's what keeps it interesting. So it always gives me the drive to do the next page, especially when I always make sure Ronnie doesn't show me too much story that's coming down the line. So I get to enjoy it as a reader as well at the end of the day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's another big reveal coming up, and I'm dying. I just want to get to it already. I've been waiting since the very beginning, but as a writer, if there's anyone else out there that is like a two-man team between writer and artist, let me know if you feel the same way. But sometimes I gauge, the initial how it plays, because you're not always going to be right on the money with, I think people are going to like this. Like there's a reveal, the preview of issue 6. I knew in my heart that was thumping. That was going to be like a moment, but still you want to just kind of see what other people think about it as well. So I'll shoot a couple pages to James, especially when they sync up and it kind of spills over. And then I just kind of wait to see, to get that response, like, holy shit. And then I know I'm like, okay, we're it's going to hit. So I kind of do that with, especially this, like I said, there's other stuff coming up and I'm just dying. I want to get to it, but I think it's fun that way, because when you're into it and you got that passion and you have some new stuff popping up here and there, it kind of keeps the fire alive.
Yeah, like one example is I wasn't expecting to draw a killer clown. So like that was like some of my best artwork as well. So that was fun doing that.
That's cool. Christine's conversing with Wolverine. True, I think I liked it because I recognized the areas they filmed in, and the infected were fast buggers. No moaning stuff, shuffling zombies you could run around. That's always been funny to me. Being able to make a break for it, and you're outpacing them almost immediately. I like the idea of zombies being raised by magic as opposed to a scientific reason.
I think if the movie does it right, I'm not against doing that, because basically, Return of the Living Dead was,
Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead with the Deadites, but with Return of the Living Dead, they have like a toxic gas, and it gets into the rain, and it basically does that. It's not magic, but it's pretty close to the same idea. And I love Return of the Living Dead. It's ridiculous. I friggin' love it. So if they do it right, I'm not down. I'm not against it.
Nice. There's always something to be said for recognizing places. I'm not a fan of fast zombies myself, but in any case, the zombies aren't the real threat in any zombie thing. People are. I can see that, yep. The other one, which I know a lot of people didn't like, but I did, was World War Z, simply because of the way the zombies swarm like ants, climbing up each other to get over the walls. Freaky.
I actually enjoyed that, but I don't know if it's more of a nostalgia fact for one of the background characters in there was supposed to be the main character, but he also played the main character in the show Lost, which is what me and Ronnie are also massive fans of. So the bonding thing. Because Brad Pitt apparently wasn't going to be in the whole film or something, so there's like a helicopter scene where Brad Pitt's family gets saved, and the person who plays Jack in Lost, the guy's called Matthew Fox. He was going to be the main character for the rest of the film, but it got cut.
Yeah, I like the visual from World War Z. I didn't watch the movie, but I did like the visual where, just the idea of all of them swarming and climbing over each other like insects.
Yeah, I like that idea as well for, like I said, not all zombie movies have to do the same thing. I like variety. So when World War Z comes out and it's kind of like ants, I'm down for it. But I think one of the main problems we see in CGI is the weight. They're like actual physical weight. If you notice, when you get a really good team putting a totally fake character together, but their footsteps, or when they jump, when they fall, when they get hit, it like feels like there's weight there. Even when they swing weapons or when they interact with things, in World War Z, it just they just feel floaty, and I think it really takes a notch out of that the CGI. But if they could lock it down for a sequel, I'm game. I love anything a little bit different with the zombie genre.
Right on. Cool. Oops.
Cool peep.
If you like horror, great characters, and amazing art, Doomsday Kingdom is a must-read. It really is that good. James definitely has OCD.
Yeah.
I meant to back Kill Reaver ages ago. Thought I had until I checked the link. Cheers, WyzGyz. Grabbed it just now. Right on. Thank you. That killer clown print was awesome. Killer clown print. The blood splatter splash gloss is a great idea on the cover. Return of the Living Dead is one of my faves. Please tell me Jim isn't doing a graveyard strip. Lol.
Only in my spare time.
The cover is my favorite so far of any CG books. Nice.
Ooh. Big praise.
Ooh, is that our volume 1?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like that.
Like it is.
Well, I didn't know if they were talking about like a specific cover of something like maybe issue 6 or 5, or because you guys were just talking about the clown. I thought maybe they meant the clown.
Yeah, I think they're in the volume because of the blood. Caca, Greg.
Nice.
Yeah. Welcome, Greg.
It's the gun demon.
How's it going?
He's just showed his cover off as well, which looks amazing colored now.
Nice. The stabs in Walking Dead, awful. They're like stabbing air. Crap.
Yeah, and that's another. A lot of hardcore zombie fans will know. Part of where they go wrong, like I've seen a number of comments in the chat, and I agree with you too, because zombie films do this where zombies aren't that big of a threat. We know because they have the ridiculous CGI fake knife stab. In Doomsday Kingdom, a guy's going to be, just as an example, right? A guy's going to be in a room, in a basement, no windows to get out, and a few zombies are, coming down the steps. There's 2 or 3 in there with him. So he has nothing else to do but search for a sharp object, take it, and instead of just sticking them in the head like butter, he's going to go to stab it, and it's going to just, bounce off of the zombie's skull. It's going to slice his flesh, but he's not going to be able to, to penetrate that skull easily. He's going to be out of breath. It's going to be one vicious fight. And the thing is, if you had that in a movie, I'm getting excited thinking about the possibilities of what you could do in a movie where you have a guy fighting zombies in a way that is so organic, so grounded. It's never, I don't think it's ever been done, not in the way I'm visualizing it. And it all has to do with make the stabs more realistic with the skull. You know what I mean? Because the skull, even when you stab someone in the skull, the blade, chances are it's going to get wedged in there. And you're going to have to, shake it loose to pull it back out. And if you don't, just because you poke them in the head doesn't mean they're going to instantly die right away, especially with a zombie. So you can do so much with that. And nope. I saw a grandma, no offense, what's her name? I love her in The Walking Dead, but grandma picks up a street sign, a stop sign, and jams a zombie in the skull, and it goes right through their face. That's not true at all, man. If you popped him in the face, you would just break his nose a little bit or something, It's not going to rip his face in half. It's just, Walking Dead is silly with that shit.
It seems to me that if anything, especially if it's like a fresh undead, that it would deflect off the skull. I mean, like you said, it might smash the nose in, but it won't cut through the bone like butter.
Again, that's where it makes our characters not seem... Well, it makes our characters not seem invincible if they can just easily kill a zombie. That's not fun. You've got those precious moments, like when he said, when you're trying to get the blade out to possibly get another zombie, that's life or death situations.
Sure, yeah. The blood splattered cover is awesome. It's hard to appreciate it until you have it in your hands. It looks like it's going to be wet blood. It's brilliant.
I was really surprised how it turned out, actually, because Michael Bancroft, like, he backed it as well, and on the stream that I did with him the other day, he was like trying to show it off and was surprised that it was like raised quite a lot as well, so it feels really cool. And I got the idea off Bancroft in the first place to do a UV spot gloss, because the way his Lucent cover is that it's like looking down at a pavement, but the section where the woman's falling down towards the viewer, that's the only part that's gloss, so it looks like you're looking through like a magic window kind of thing. It's so cool. And that was just off the digital version, so like he's not actually seen spot gloss until our cover. So now I think he's really excited to get his printed out. But I stole the idea. But initially we was going to do the fireworks on the cover as like the glossy bits, but then we're like, let's just throw some blood on it because it matches with the theme.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you've come across the volume in the wild after someone got killed over it because it was so good. For me, that's my fantasies.
Yeah, really. Dillard spent so much time on his cover.
Oh, it's challenging.
Exactly. Excuse me. I love the blood splatter too, Christine. This is good zombie conversation. It really does look great, Dillard. I'm just fucking with you when I say it looks like he's getting ass raped. The best cover in CG, The Buckler. Oops. For the win. It's on fire. Even a long dead zombie, bone is tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I only say that because a lot of people shoot back with, Ronnie, you're too picky on the Walking Dead because they're rotted zombies. And then I shoot back with, well, that's funny because archaeologists are digging up like 2,000-year-old bones and they still hard as shit, you know, a little more brittle, obviously, and dry, but they whack you at one, you're going to die.
That's a very good point. Dinosaur.
I do justify the thinking of it, but it's, again, if you break it down, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. That's Mr. Demon to you, sir.
Okay.
To show you how much I do love your cover, Dillard Draws, I backed your book because I forgot to do it.
Rectified.
Right on. You're a beast, Christine. Yeah, she might be a bigger backer than I am of campaigns. And I thought I was backing at a decent clip. Let's see. Hail, Christine. Yeah, what's the point of writing a zombie apocalypse if the zombies aren't a real threat? How did those weak Walking Dead zombies kill most humans?
Exactly. They got to be a threat, you know? And I know someone brought up the fact that the humans are like the real true threat before. And there's a part of me that's like, I know what that became a thing. It was like a slogan for the Walking Dead's like third season or whatever, like fight the dead, fear the living, some shit like that. And I get the idea of what they were going for because it was when they had their very first like true villain. But the truth is, it's got to be a balance, you know? The living in the zombie apocalypse for the characters, it's like walking on a tightrope, and the falling to your death is always the pit of zombies, and then maybe your villain is the wind trying to knock them off at times, or your human characters. So it's got to be that balance of, you know, the multiple threat balance, because it just doesn't work any other way. I mean, maybe in small shorts or movies where you can do a different look at it, like Maggie, where it's very not like your norm zombie movie, very different, more like what's it like to turn into a zombie drama.
Yeah.
But I think you need a balance.
Indeed. Christine says, I need more self-control. Ask any serial killer, lol. Bone isn't easy to get rid of.
No, it's not. Even the people that think they can burn a body, and this in particular, I don't know personally, but I've watched a lot of stuff where confessions where people are like, yeah, man, I thought you just, I don't know, threw it in a fire, lit it on fire. The truth is a human body can burn, and it's going to, it's going to take the skin off and disfigure and whatever, but it actually has to burn at a hot degree for so long, and it's got to cook. That's why they make special areas to do it. So it's a lot harder, more resilient than how it's made to be.
I mean, look at witches when they try to do sacrifices. They only end up with the charred bones. They never have disappeared bones.
Yeah, it's not like it burns to a dust. No one is a bigger backer than you, WyzGyz. I don't know about that. People are getting up there in number of backings. Dealer, feeling the love. I don't know if I can endorse that, Christy. Acid works. Yeah, how well does acid work on bone? Zombies have become so uninteresting. Most zombie stories go incredibly overused route of man being the real monster.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Well, partially. I don't think they've become. Well, I mean, there's an argument because I do criticize a lot of the zombie stuff out there, but there is an over reliance on making the man, the real monster. Where again, I fall back to if I'm watching a zombie story, I'll give you the room to fascinate me however you see fit, but I want to see that zombie threat, man. I'm still waiting. Again, like I said, put a guy in a kitchen, guy, girl, I don't care. Put him in a kitchen. He's out of breath fighting 3 or 4 zombies, and the steak knives in the kitchen just don't cut it. Slice in the face, and it won't penetrate. He cuts himself on his hand because, there's no, what's that thing called? Stopping your hand from sliding down, because that's another thing. So many people that, the what?
Like a guard.
Yeah, like the guard. There's another word for it on tip of my tongue, but there's so many people that get arrested and their hands are sliced up because they think it's like the movies where you just stab the shit out of somebody, but it's really not. You actually have to use a lot of force to stab somebody through the meat and the bone and yada, yada, yada. And they just need to incorporate that a little more, and you'll have something that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. When our ancient ancestors lived in treeless areas like tundra, they used to use bone shavings to burn as wood was so scarce. I think I read that before. Welcome, Arlene Edkinzel. How's it going? Welcome. Interesting conversation that I just wandered into. Full sea zombies are the way forward. The zombies on the Brooklyn Bridge paved the way to modern zombies more than Romero, in my opinion. Do you guys agree with that?
I tend to have a little more fiery because we'll get into it another day. But because I don't mean to knock Romero, but I don't count him as like, I mean, maybe in a way I do, is everyone calls him like the king or the godfather. I think it's the godfather of the zombie films. And it's like, if you watched a documentary back in the day, this is Romero. I don't know what the fuck a zombie is. I stole the idea from, oh my God. It ended I Am Legend, Last Man on Earth. Yeah. He took that idea and he made them ghouls. That's why they don't use the word zombies. George Romero accidentally created the stuff, and he didn't even like the zombie fandom as much. He always talked about how people wearing the makeup. He's like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with y'all. You know what I mean? Like he had this, he accidentally. So I have a certain amount of like yada, 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 but I don't know. I don't see him entombed as like the King Mac Daddy of zombies. I'm like, Fulci as well did do a heavy punch. So I do have a balance of agreement there and disagreement.
I tend to lump it in with humans are terrible. Read as condescendingly as possible. This trope needs to die because of how often I see it. That's why I got fed up with The Walking Dead. The threat went from being the living dead to being whichever nutty human had a spiky weapon. Hilt.
Hilt. Yeah, that's what I had in my head.
That's right.
So with a steak knife, if you put pressure on it, your hand's going to slip in it and then go with the blade.
Yeah, the hilt is there to keep your hand from sliding up, but it's also there to keep your enemy's sword from nipping you if it gets too close from sliding down.
Exactly. World War Z and the remake of Dawn of the Dead are my favorite zombie movies. I can believe that those zombies could cause an apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's also something that's important with me as well. I'll make this quick, but in Doomsday Kingdom, you will, when you get to that point, you won't have to be like, how do classic zombies take over the world if they end up doing that? But you'll see something and you'll be like, oh, I get it. I see how that happened. That's something that I needed to make sure was in there, because I agree with you. When they don't show something that's a threat, it's kind of like, really?
Right. Welcome, Phoenix Animation. Hail, everyone.
Hail, brother.
I Am Legend was one of the best books I read as a kid. I read that at 9. It was amazing.
The book is incredible.
Tom Savini is much cooler. Tom is my zombie king. Savini directed the remake of Night of the Living Dead and did a fabulous job at enhancing the story. Romero zombies operate on a more psychological threat than overt physical threat. People need to sleep, people get tired, people panic, people make mistakes and stupid choices. That they do. All of those things give the slow zombies a chance to group up, to group up or surround or slip through a crack. Yeah, that's true too. Fulci made it cool and super underground, sort of. The Beyond and stuff as well. Italian horror had way better cinematography and iconic imagery that resonated with the hardcore zombie fans.
And a shark.
Sorry.
Well, you're not into the zombie stuff, so have you ever seen any of the Fulci ones, the old ones?
I don't think so.
He actually had pretty much out of nowhere, a zombie versus a shark. If you ever want to see it, just like search on YouTube zombie versus shark. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Sounds like a comedy.
Oh my gosh. Wow. But zombie stuff is like whiskey. There's no bad whiskey, just some are better than others.
Yeah.
That's interesting. For anyone who has yet to do so, please sign up for the pre-launch of Doomsday Kingdom, Public Enemy #1. We're looking at This is a sequel to their Volume 1 book, which is essentially 5 issues in one book that will be made available to this campaign as one of the perks, one of the tiers. And then this book, Public Enemy #1, is composed of issues 6 and 7 in one continuous book story. And then cover for book 6 will be on the front, and cover for book 7 will be on the back.
Yeah, unless we change our mind again.
I love that idea. I'm pretty content with it. If you are,
Yeah.
We're looking at this being a 60-page book. Thanks to the amazing support of our Indiegogo debut, we're super proud to continue this story with a sequel to Volume 1. Still currently in demand with the next 2 issues of story and extra content. Yeah, so we got some good looking artwork here. And things popping off. Paint Pro Bros.
That's just the name of the van paint company.
Yeah. How it's all connected.
So these 2 images I've pulled from the volume because I didn't want to show off too much of the new story. And then the second image is our big reveal moment for those that have followed us since like day one. Because like I said, the opening of Volume 1 is a glimpse into the future before the Doomsday Kingdom and the whole world falls. And then we continue in the present day. And then this image here teases another glimpse into the future. So that's stuff we can add in. If it's relevant to the story that's going on in present time, we can kind of do like a flashback or flash forward in the future, like similar to Lost, because again, like we're both massive fans of that. So we have that aspect to it. But it mainly focuses on like the present day. So we don't want to get people too confused as it like progresses.
Right.
Because eventually the issues will catch up with what you see in the beginning of issue 1. So it comes full circle and then continues from there.
Now, if I remember earlier, Jim, you touched on that you guys have plans to make this an ongoing series. And do you say something about it being like 70 issues or so?
Yeah, like there's an initial plan for like 60. But again, we've got the potential. We can go further or we can go shorter, depending on what we decide as we make it. But again, this is for me, this is the passion project coming to life as my sole income. So I'm like extremely avid to want to get more and more story out there.
Right. And Ronnie, do you literally have the story, the scripts written or drafted for like 60 odd issues?
No, not for 60. I do have an outline and we trimmed it back a little bit, but I have an overall outline for 100 issues. But we trimmed it back not to scare people. But as far as what will happen within the next 30 issues, give or take a few pages, like some pages, I think they're going to be 1. They end up being 2 or 3 pages because we like to flesh some things out a bit. But like I said, give or take a little bit of things that kind of switch up a little. I got the next up to 36, either issue 32 or 36 as a outline to where each issue is pretty much, we know where it'll go.
Wow, that's impressive.
I have this scroll actually in order to see them all, because I kind of look at like an overhead view of the tone and the different, because like I said, some of it gets really dark, like kind of like really horror-y or whatever, and so in order to deal with nice pacing, because I don't want like the horror stuff to go back to back to back to back, because then people are like, oh, it's only horror. So I want a nice little pacing to it. So I have this scroll. Instead of using different pages, I just open it all up and I can see all 30 issues all at once. That's what I've been using since issue 1. I love it. I think it works perfect.
Captain F-Head, rest in peace, nicknamed Ronnie Hayes, the Master of Scrolls. That's where that nickname came from. It's literally like a massive parchment scroll with all of these issues on it, so you can see it on one continuous thing instead of like random bits of paper everywhere.
Literally an actual scroll?
Yeah, it's like craft paper. Like imagine you're getting that brown craft paper, like you're going to wrap something in.
Yeah, like butcher paper. Yeah.
Like I have, let's say it's 12 inches tall up and down, and then it's like however 80, 90 inches left to right. So you roll it up like a scroll, and it's like this little tiny rolled up poster. And then when you open it up, you can actually sit at my long table here, and from one end to the next, it's like 5 feet long. I could just look at the whole story, or maybe it's 4 feet long, something like that. It's not too ridiculous, but I could look at the whole, first, how many arcs is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the whole like 7 first arcs. I said that backwards, but you get it.
Do you envision one day maybe releasing, duplicating and printing such a scroll as a behind the scenes kind of perk and make
what's funny is I always thought, we reprint the behind the scenes stuff. Like we already did that with a picture from one of my notes from issue 1, but the whole scroll itself, like when we got to issue 30, we do like a replica of it. I never thought like anyone would want that, but I'm into like prop stuff. I love prop stuff. So if people would want that, if we could find a way to make it and have a cool little celebration thing with it, I think that would be pretty badass. And it would be, it would have all the notes on it, because there's some notes in the back, like I'll have something scribbled about something that's going to happen in issue. And this is why I have the scroll, because I'll set something up in issue 2, and we're not going to get to that till issue like 20, but it's not in, there's a reason for that. It's a little more of, you ever see Game of Thrones? Have you ever watched that?
I haven't watched that either.
You haven't watched that either? Well, they're just for anyone in the audience, as a reference, there's like a character with the name Hodor, and he's a little bit, he can't speak. That's what it is. He can't speak, and he's big and beefy, and he's like the right-hand man at a family, like kind of takes care of the kids, but also does like, it doesn't matter. But his name's Hodor. They don't know much about his background. And then in like season 6, you get like this ultimate reveal of his name, and it ties right into the story. And it was there the whole time, and you didn't even know it. It was like, that's the type of stuff that I love intertwining in the story, where you catch something in issue 6, and then 8, and then in issue 22, and then in issue 36, like the bomb and the big reveal happens. So for the scroll, it helps me a lot being able to go, okay, that's here, and then this is here.
That's nice. That is so cool. All right. Let's see here. Let me catch up on this here. One sec.
Christine says a comment about looking at the pandemic has turned many people into nutters. I was actually worried on when the COVID started becoming an actual thing, because like I say, you heard about it, but no one really thought it was going to affect them. I ended up like looking at knives for like self-defense in case, because when it was announced that everyone's going to lockdown, like that's never happened before. Like bird flu happened, that never happened. Like locking us down. So I literally thought we were gonna have like people on the streets like fighting for survival kind of thing. I was like, shit. But in the UK, you're not allowed to like carry like even like short knives or whatever, like you can in America, like hatchets or whatever.
Oh,
it's rude if you go outside. So it's like everyone's hiding like pocket knives, and that's not going to do anything against someone.
Yeah, really. Just start wearing cargo pants that have big pockets and stuff. If you look at how the current pandemic has turned so many people into nutters, can you imagine what would happen if COVID brought the dead back to life? Human race would be over. I could wipe out slow zombies by the thousands and then sleep just fine. Italian horror was so specific it counts as its own subgenre of horror. Slow zombies versus a bulldozer, no more zombies. Shark Bit was all we talked about in the 80s as a kid when video nasties were banned in the UK. Build a treehouse and you could sleep fine. Shuffling zombies can't climb. You could sit in the treehouse and pop off any that came too close.
Yeah.
That's
They kind of did that in the first series of The Walking Dead, though. Like they implied that the zombies could start climbing ladders and stuff, but then they obviously
that's because the classic zombies they actually did climb, like in a Romero. That's why I say, like, the people's memory of the zombie genre, even zombie fans, it's so funny how and not in a negative way either, but just how I'll make a video talking about this from The Walking Dead, and somebody will be like, I want the Romero zombies back, where they didn't climb, they didn't use weapons. And it's like, no, they did climb, they used weapons. That's why in The Walking Dead season 1 they used rocks and they climbed, because they modeled them after the Romero ones. It's so easy for us to think classic zombies are just dumb and move slow and don't use weapons, but that's not actually what the old classic Romero ones were. They used weapons, they climbed, they tried to beat down a door.
Right.
But yeah,
especially with the lockdowns, that many people basically locked in, so little contact outside, we'd be fucked before we even knew what was happening. Excuse me. I love good zombie chat. Yeah, it would be over in a matter of days, maybe 2 weeks. I do too. I'm just very careful not to get too into it. I end up talking way too much.
That's the power of zombie fandom.
I love long stories. The idea of so many issues is awesome to me, not frightening. Yeah, I think it's pretty epic that you guys have that much story to tell. Even though I'm not big on the zombie genre, I have mad respect for the creators who can, weave a story. I don't feel I'd have the imagination to pull something like that off. That's the answer to how slow zombies can cause an apocalypse. People don't believe it. Normal folk can't beat their risen loved one's head to mush. Few, if any, homes are that sturdy, really. No, Wolf, I don't buy it. Agreed. If I like a story or characters, I'm looking to go farther with them. Many issues is a good thing. Yep. Yeah, and people will turn on each other instead of sticking together against a common enemy. There are plenty of us out there that are observant and ready for crazy shit. Practically no one would actually believe they were dealing with the living dead. Think it? Sure. But believe it? Not really. I think most people would care about themselves and their family and wouldn't see the benefit of coming together as a cohesive group to use everyone's strengths to survive. Once again, I don't buy it. I literally know people in real life who are waiting for the zombie apocalypse. It's quite common these days. Given that people turn on each other under much less apocalyptic circumstances, definitely. His name is short for Hold the Door, really annoying to listen to.
Spoilers.
In the end, people would be their own worst enemy. Those are excuses that bad filmmakers make for cheap, poorly developed zombies.
Especially stealthy zombies.
No, I do too, but practically none of them are going to start for real killing people just because it looks kind of like their fantasy has come true. No matter the genre, monsters should be a believable threat. If you have to explain the threat, it fails. That's a fact. The Walking Dead is one of the best examples of poor writing and poor world development. Until you run out of bullets. Don't need bullets, just a bulldozer. Zombies aren't necessarily stupid. They're just reduced to their most primitive functions. I just need, again, to get the closest bulldozer. In this area, I have many options. Oh, man. Crossbow would be fine, can retrieve the bolts from zombie heads. They just lack higher brain functions and are basically just animals at this point. High-powered BB gun like my buddy has would be more sufficient for zombies. Let's use this trailer once more, and then we'll wrap things up.
Hell yeah.
In a future world, one man's desire for vengeance brought him back to a time and place where events changed him in irreversible ways. But before that, there were beginnings of endings that altered the landscape of civilization as we had known it. This is the story of a changing world and how some lives changed with it. A story about survival from those trapped within the Doomsday Kingdom, where there's a bigger story to tell.
Nice. All right, let's take turns here. Ronnie, I'm going to give you the floor first. Please share with the world how you can be found on social media.
You can find me on Twitter if you like. Instagram, I like to play around with some visuals there. Not mainly exciting, but if you want to be directly in contact with me, we're using Twitter for now. Quite frequently, we have a Discord as well. Hit us up on Make a Path Presents on YouTube or Ronnie Hayes on YouTube, 2 different channels. And you'll find somebody that'll share you a Discord link. We're going to make one that's open and we can just share all around. But that'll be it for now. We do have Doomsday Kingdom itself. You can, if you want to know anything about Doomsday Kingdom, we have a Twitter handle and an active Facebook page. And again, it's just Doomsday Kingdom. On Twitter, I think it's like 2 zeros for the O's instead. And then for Facebook, it's just Doomsday Kingdom. And we do have an Instagram coming, so we'll be able to share and tease. You can follow it now, but we're going to be getting more active this year, actually, with social media.
Do either of your YouTube channels, like, do you have like one that specifically focuses on Doomsday Kingdom, and then another one that kind of has discussions on general zombie things and your favorite zombie movies and whatnot?
Not really. We have, well, we do have a Doomsday Kingdom YouTube channel. We were kind of waiting until we build our fan base up some to spill things over to that. Right now, we have Doomsday Kingdom is a product from the first, main project from Make a Path Presents. So you can find anything that's Doomsday Kingdom related video wise. We have a playlist, and that's over on the Make a Path Presents YouTube channel. So if you want to follow that, you can get anything you want to know. And again, we have all the old Doomsday Kingdom videos where we did Q&As. If you want to know any old stories or whatnot, there's a ton of videos.
Nice.
There's also links on the new campaign at the bottom as well for the playlist.
Fantastic. Jim, you got the floor. Please share how you can be found on social media.
Well, you can find me at LovePigeon. Caw-caw! And that's about it. And there's a YouTube channel which I actually draw and color Doomsday Kingdom on time to time, which it either shows up as Observant Jim or LovePigeon on YouTube, and you should be able to find me there.
Would you guys mind sharing your YouTube channel links?
Yeah.
I don't have them at the rate, fortunately.
My internet is dying.
No.
How does it find my videos?
Yeah.
I've clicked on the WyzGyz.
If you want, you can share it in private chat or whatever, and I'll drop them in the main chat, or you know what?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find my latest video that I just did for William Hayes for the Ailsa Dark campaign. It's my on our CG UK weekly show. My segment is I'm basically redubbing people's campaigns in a kind of comedic way. If people find it funny, that's good.
Okay. All right.
So you can see it. Copy. Yeah, because I changed my user to LovePigeon, but it doesn't change the URL.
Okay. Christine's looking for the Doomsday Kingdom YouTube channel. She thinks she's already subbed to the others.
Yeah. Do you have a link, Ronnie?
Oh,
sorry, I was yelling for my daughter. Yeah, I got a link in my folder. I'll get it 1 second. Also in the chat, I don't think I can leave a chat. I'm gonna put this in the private chat. I did a flaw and off for Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Someone in the chat, if you guys can share that in the chat, it's a nice breakdown of Dawn of the Dead. Like I said, I did Night of the Living Dead. I also did Day, but it's not public yet because there was a re-edit I gotta do, and then we're also gonna do Land. But all right, let me pull up this link for Doomsday Kingdom.
The Doomsday Kingdom.
It's the YouTube channel, yeah.
The YouTube channel.
And like I said, it's kind of like backup stuff we have up. We were gonna wait until we get probably the middle of this year, or if things go well, to closer to the Q4 of this year. I'm hoping we can do little maybe weekly or bi-weekly updates, little mini videos, and it'll be on the Doomsday Kingdom channel if all goes well.
Nice. Now, while you're pulling the Doomsday Kingdom YouTube channel, you can find me on Facebook and YouTube under WyzGyz Entertainment. You can also find me on Twitter at WyzGyz Tweets, on Twitch at WyzGyz Twitches, on Parlay at WyzGyz Parlays, if it even still exists. And like, comment, and subscribe. Mark the bell for notifications. Indicate that you want to receive all notifications, so hopefully you get notified when I release a new video or stream. Copy address. And drop some comments down below if you would. And below this video, tell us what you're most excited about for this awesome looking book. And let's see. What? Oh, fuck. Land of the Dead. Here's the link for Doomsday Kingdom YouTube channel.
Hell yeah.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Sweet. All right. So, want to thank everyone in chat. You guys are freaking awesome. It was some good zombie chat, that's for sure. I learned a little something here and there. And thanks to, you guys all rock. Thanks to everyone who watches this on replay. And thanks once again to Never Saw Land of the Dead. Thanks, subbed. Yeah, thanks for dropping the links, guys. And thanks to our very special guests, Ronnie Hayes and Jim, a.k.a. the Love Pigeon.
Yeah, thanks for having us, bud.
No, my pleasure. It's been great. Let's close it out.
Final guest that is the only person below White Holiday in the ComicsGate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sammetti. The YouTube how you doing? Welcome to the show.